and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan,
Chris,
Lee,
and no voiceover man.
No, well, he was nice for 1 week.
I shot him.
Lee might have killed him.
Yeah,
And we couldn't get Mexican voiceover man.
No, we could.
We could, but it sounded a little bit racist.
voiceover hombre.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why we didn't do it.
Yeah, we did have a couple of comments on voiceover man. Mac Perry said he sounded creepy, and I think it was Darren Entwistle on the Facebook page said, "Do we have new American owners as well?"
Both valid points. Both no.
Well, yes, he was did sound a bit creepy.
The public has spoken, and Lee was right once again. We were going to have a Mexican one, but I basically put a wall in front of that.
Yes, Lee Trump. Thank you for that.
Right, shall we talk about the Grand Prix instead?
Go on then.
Yeah, let's have a look at the United States Grand Prix.
It was kind of good in places.
It was all right.
It was a good race.
I thought it was a good race.
Steadily
There have
becoming...
been lots more interesting ones.
There has, but was that the best race of the year?
No.
What was the best race of the year?
Not that one.
I quite enjoyed it.
It wasn't the worst race of the year.
Yeah, I think some of the racing that went on up and down the field was more interesting than some of the races that people have said were really good, which I didn't think were.
There have been pretty good races. I'm trying to think of one now that was better than that. There have been races, I'm sure, that were better.
I don't think there was a race this year that was better than that. I think
But
there might be
Barcelona
ones
was
that
far
were
better.
par.
Barcelona was a great race, to be fair.
Yeah, sorry, Barcelona was quite good.
Yeah, all the way down the field they have fights going on. Austria was a great race as well.
Yep.
Yes, not just because of what happened on that last lap, although that's what it'll always be remembered for.
Yeah, but no, it was a good race. It was definitely one that would hold the attention of the neutral, the non-fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were plenty of them in the stands as well, weren't there? Circuit the Americas.
It's good to see a really good turnout for the race.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few people quite willing to admit that they only paid their weekend tickets so they could go see a certain musician on Saturday night.
No, not Usher playing on Sunday.
There was a guy though that was dressed as it is Uncle Sam, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we saw that.
Yeah. Right, if you're gonna wear a massive big hat, think of the people behind you.
Yeah.
Bell end.
That was the full kit.
That
wanker.
was the full kit wanker. Thank you to Mac Perry who.
He also spotted that as well.
He spotted that round about the same time that we did.
Surely a full kit wanker is someone in a team uniform. He would be a full kit yanker.
Very good. Very good.
You're on fire tonight.
Oh, I know.
Boom.
With your modesty as well.
I know. All this talent and so humble.
So let's have a look at how the teams did then.
Yeah, we'll start at the back with Manor.
Got both cars over the finish line.
Yeah.
But very, very slow, kind of anonymous. Only really saw one of them on track. I think it was Wehrlein on track when he almost got lapped by Nico Rosberg coming out of the pits under the virtual safety car, and then that didn't work because Nico forgot that you can't overtake under the virtual safety car. And backed out at the very last second.
Ignore me, I'm just kind of breaking things. The page in the notebook's fallen out.
Oh, well, we need a new notebook then, don't
Paul's
we?
having trouble with retro iPad.
Leave my Etch-a-Sketch alone. You don't need to turn it off and on again. You just turn it upside down and shake it.
But yeah,
Just
very
like
quiet.
children.
Very quiet race for Manor. Didn't really see Esteban Ocon on screen too much. And as I say, the only time I can remember seeing a Manor on screen really was when they were being lapped. And I think Ocon was the only driver who got lapped twice. So, not a great showing.
Yeah, I think we've hit the part of the season where we're just going to see this from Manor now for the rest of the year because they can't do anything with the car. The money's going into next year's.
Yeah.
Dan's escaped.
Dan has left the building, just like Elvis. Did you punch him in the nose?
No, it'll be another one of his nasty race meetings, won't it?
No, it's not one of those. It's secret.
No, we're talking about a nasty race meeting. There was various nastiness going on around the paddock this weekend.
Secret Agent Dan, isn't it?
Yeah.
He disappears every now and again. He gets a coded message through and his phone, he's got to vanish. So,
I'll code my message. Can't cope kinetic.
yes.
The haddock is in full bloom. What have we got next? Sauber. We did see both of them on screen tussling with each other at one point.
Yeah, they were on different. I think Sauber tried a one-stopper, and Felipe Nasr's stop, I think, came just as the virtual safety car was put in place, which was missed by television. But Nasr stopped
Missed or ignored?
a bit both, I think.
He's like the fucking predator, isn't he?
Good old anonymous Sauber. But
season
Nasr should have been able to capitalise hugely from that, because that was his only stop. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him whatsoever.
I mean, with about 10 laps to go, Ericsson was running 11th, and there was a potential threat of a point.
What did he finish in the end?
14th.
Yeah. There was a threat of a point which would have put Sauber ahead of Manor in the Constructors' Championship,
And would
on
have
count-back results,
would have been worth was it 38 million euros to the team?
something like that. A ridiculous amount.
That is the difference in prize money between 10th
I'll
and
tell you what,
11th.
Sauber need like a wet Brazil, don't they? Or
You can tell it's a lot of money because it's half of what Ericsson has in his pocket at all times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, one thing. I mean, I did see Sauber getting talked about quite a bit on Ted's qualifying notebook, because he went on a massive rant. The same thing that we've been saying. Can't understand why
Engines.
they're saying
Sorry.
that they're going to stick with the 2016 engine for next season.
Yeah.
If it's down to money, why don't they just come out and say it's going to be cheaper rather than, we're concentrating on aerodynamics, when every team's concentrating on aerodynamics because the aero rules are changing for next year.
Well, look at Toro Rosso. I mean, obviously there's going to be everything's relative. So if every team gains fucking 3 seconds through aero,
Yeah.
it's
You lose.
you still lose.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll look at Toro Rosso, which is apparently got like an excellent aero package, but it's got last year's Ferrari engine in it.
Yeah.
So it's fucked right in the shit pipe.
Yeah.
They're getting the 3 seconds from the aero, but then they're losing a second and a half from the horsepower.
7/10 a lap. They're down.
Yeah. That's the average.
Yeah, which makes it
And
fucking remarkable there where they are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll talk about where their finishing positions were a bit later on, but I think Circuit of the Americas is over 60% full throttle as well. So it was going to be a bit of a strain on the old engines, and if Sauber are going into next year as the only team using last year's spec engines, they're going to find themselves way down the back of the field.
I mean, they're going to suffer more than Toro Rosso did this weekend just by dint of the fact that Toro Rosso is a better car.
Yeah.
It's got a better aero package on it.
Uh-huh.
So a car with a crap aero package and an engine that's down on horsepower, they're going to be lucky to qualify by the time after the
I
summer
don't know.
break. I think we could actually see
Outside the 107%.
outside the 107%. The Rossett rule comes into force.
Well, it's very possible because
Lagging like a Lola.
they haven't got a lot of money. And
They say they've got money, but nobody's seen it.
no, but I think that don't forget by the fact that they say they've now got money, it means they've got a budget because they didn't have a budget before.
I think what it
So-
might be is that their owners are very rich,
Yeah.
but they haven't got any fluid capital. It's all tied up in other things.
No,
that they can't.
I'm sure that the owners have come in and said that is your budget for the year.
Yeah.
But they still, even though they've got a budget given to them, still nothing saying that it's not the lowest budget on the grid.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can see nothing but bad things for them. And like I say, usually when I see a team like that, especially a team that's been in Formula 1 for years, like when it was Jordan, Benetton as well, when Benetton went, I wasn't happy with Benetton go. But I really feel like Sauber deserve it. There's literally no character. At least Manor now, because I gave Manor some awful stick, and quite rightly so, I think.
For last year, yeah.
And the year before, and the year before that, and I still argue that although they are closer to the pack, the time they've been in Formula 1, they really should be fighting for points now.
Yeah.
More often, not just one race now.
No,
and again.
yeah, you're right. But I mean, when you consider the team's changed hands like 2 or 3 times in its existence already, then it's difficult for them to get any stability long enough for them to attain get the personnel and get the management correct, and then let the structure of the team sort itself out before things start happening on track.
Yeah, just going back to Manor, and while we're talking about money and things, anyone noticed they actually had a new sponsor as well this weekend, so they're actually bringing more cash in.
No,
No,
that's it.
Yeah, they signed up with Rebellion watchmakers,
Oh,
right,
cool.
so that will help things.
It will do because they need a couple of seconds.
Hey, Renault next.
Out the park.
Oh
Renault.
yeah, the World Series of American Fat Guy Randers starts this
Fat
week.
guy Rounders.
Baseball.
Well, fast cricket.
No, because you just. I tried watching baseball. It's just somebody reeling off numbers with occasional bits of sport in between.
I know. I watched baseball when I went to America, and it was.
No, I was watching it on ESPN.
No, I watched it on American television, and it's actually just a lot of adverts with the occasional bit of basebal.
Mm.
It's
Lots
fun-
of adverts.
it's
This
funny,
home
though.
run was brought to you by insert restaurant name here.
Right, I'll tell you how slow-paced baseball is, and even compared to cricket. The
This can't be slower than cricket.
LA Dodgers, their regular commentator for their home games, has just retired, aged 88.
Jesus,
Good Lord.
motherfuck crap.
He's been commentating on them since 1952, and possibly on the same game.
Wasn't that like the first year of baseball?
I think it was, yeah.
Long enough. Long enough.
James Ball, the first commentator.
Yeah, he was commentating on baseball when Bernie Ecclestone had just started drawing his pension.
Just quickly on the baseball thing, I remember I like when I like a sport video game now and again, even if I'm not interested in the sport. You know, like a golf game.
Yeah,
or
same here.
Something like that.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm still not talking to you because we've known each other for 16 years and I've never beaten you on Pro Evolution Soccer yet to this day, and you hate soccer.
I'd argue that you might not have beat me at a video game yet.
Well, I had until about 6 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, I need to sort that out, didn't I?
Yeah.
I don't even mind that the rest of the world seemed to beat me. But I bought that, can't remember, it might be NBA 15 or 14, the show, whichever one was the one I bought when PS4 came out.
Yeah.
So I sat down, I thought, well, this is great. It will be like a golf game or a snooker game or something like that I can just play and it'll be fine. I don't understand how to make that game work.
Yeah.
I don't
But
understand how
you just play it.
No. I don't know how to make it do the stuff.
Oh right.
It's
okay.
the most complicated thing I've ever come across.
So it's one of those things that really is only for fans of.
Oh, yeah.
Of the sport.
I bought a baseball game and it's like, right, okay, so I'm throwing the ball here, so you turn the left stick anti-clockwise, the right stick clockwise, whilst pressing up, right 2, left 1, and triangle.
Yeah, and close one eye.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hated it. Anyway, Formula One.
and I've got 5.1 surround system, so I've got people shouting at me from behind the sofa as well.
If you enjoyed that bullshit and you want more bullshit, give us some money, and that's the sort of bullshit we talk about in the Patreon part.
Correct.
We do an extra half-hour show for our Patreon patrons.
Anyway, back to the race.
But back to the race. Renault, we had a whinging Jopo in 13th. He was whinging because...
he wanted help getting past K-Mag.
Yeah.
And
he
they
was-
pitted K-Mag, put him on some fast tyres, and K-Mag went faster and then overtook him.
Yeah, and he's now said that he was upset that there were no team orders. Well, it would appear that there were team orders, which would be you're driving the slower car, your teammate's going to pass you.
Pretty much. The thing is that at the time before K-Mag pitted, Jolyon Palmer was the faster of the two Renaults.
And he would, to be fair to Palmer, where like we were stuck behind him for like 2 laps, was he 1 or 2 laps?
Something like that.
And he was all over the gearbox of them.
And he came on the radio saying, "Can you guys do something to help me out here?"
Yeah.
And
One of the top
Renault obviously let their drivers race and said, "They're not really."
No, but one of the top teams, unless it was Mercedes where they're racing for a championship,
Yeah.
if that would have been Red Bull or Ferrari, they'd have been fucking shifted. You know, if with the speed being that different.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I think that might be a sign of who's fucking staying in Renault.
That's
Could
what
be.
I was about to say. Which
Yeah.
one's the favourite driver? The one that can't get past his teammate, or the one that gets given a faster set of tyres to get past his teammate after he's behind him?
I'd still keep Palmer over
I don't know.
thing.
Do you know, to be honest, on this season's showing, I'd get rid of the pair of them.
Do you know what the funny thing is the fact? Well, yeah, but they can't because the other drivers they can't get hold of. We'll talk about this in a silly season.
Yeah,
Oh,
we will.
yeah.
We'll do a silly season bit a bit later on.
I think
But
the silly season part's going to become a regular feature now till the end
Yeah.
of the year.
until early next year.
Until
perhaps.
next year's silly season
Till after
starts.
Barcelona.
Whoa, Dan's
Oh,
back.
Dan's back.
Hello, Dan.
Dan, you've returned, and why is there a pile of dead ninjas in the hole?
They said nasty stuff, Dan.
You
No.
know, these walls aren't very thick.
Flood did it in my voice again.
No, definitely not.
But
yeah.
yeah, K-Mag, well, he crossed the line 11th and then got given a 5-second penalty, which dropped him to 12th.
Because of the incident with Kvyat towards
Yes,
the end
because
of the
of
race.
overtaking Kvyat. He did go a little bit wide.
Well, he was miles off
It
the
was
circuit.
in Dallas.
Pretty much. He went off the circuit quite far to overtake Kvyat. But Kvyat was defending his line and pushed Magnussen wide. So where was Magnussen supposed to go other than off the circuit? Although I suppose he had to give the position back, but he didn't.
Yeah. And for that, he's ended up with an official reprimand, which counts towards the... if you get 3 of them, you get a grid penalty.
And
I think so,
penalty
yeah.
points
And
as
2
well.
penalty points as well,
Which seems kind of harsh.
Harsh.
It's... Yeah.
It seems harsh when you consider like the.
When you compare it with other penalties from earlier in the season.
Well, not even that. If it's just for him going wide, essentially.
Yeah, that's pretty much what
it
it
wasn't
is.
him doing something dangerous, so
Yeah, but
he
what-
should have got a time penalty.
But look at the
And he did.
as far as that white line that decides where the fucking track is.
Which,
the,
if you play in F1 2016, is in the middle of the fucking racing line.
or every single driver pissed all over that line.
Oh,
this
there were no
weekend.
track limits this weekend,
No.
were there?
Hardly any.
Are
which
you listening, Codemasters?
Martin
Yeah.
Brundle. Well, to be fair, I will play devil's advocate for Codemasters here because if anyone else has ever done like time trials on Forza and stuff like that, it's so fucking shit when you see times that you basically look at, you go, that's clearly impossible. People have obviously fully
just cut straight the corners.
gamed the circuits.
Yeah.
So at least if it's extremely stringent, you can't game them, and I think that's why. Because even when you look down the leaderboard, it's so tight. You know, even like the quick
Yeah.
guys are really tight. So it's you can't. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I'd
nobody-
rather it like that.
There's nobody running away with a stupid time in Australia, like 1 minute and 1 second.
No, there was one Formula One game where someone did like any of the circuits. I can't remember which one it was, but they were under a minute around it.
Yeah, it's not possible.
No.
That's a glitch in the game.
Yeah.
But anyway, back away from the game and back to the actual.
Back to the actual
Race.
Formula One rather than virtual.
I think the Renault performance was about right for Renault, to be honest with you. 12th and
I thought it was good for Renault.
yeah, it was all right. It was on the verge of points, not
Yeah.
quite points, but ahead of Sauber, sort of.
Renault were a lot further up the grid than I thought they would be at this time of year.
Well, you got Manor, Sauber, and then you could probably argue Renault after that if you're working from the back forward.
Yeah, but I mean, they're hassling Hassers more than I thought they would be.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haas next on the.
I suppose we did lose. We lost to Red Bull and
And
a
Ferrari, so they should have been 2 places behind that.
possibly.
yeah, so I mean,
And,
a
Williams.
Force India.
Well, Williams
And a Force.
essentially as well.
Which is
Yeah.
going to roll into my McLaren rant when we start talking about McLaren.
we've still got 3 teams to go before we get to your McLaren round.
I'll shut up then. I'll just charge.
Yeah, you've written down Haas next because they only had the one finisher, but Grosjean got points.
Grosjean did get points and very well scored after the slightly disastrous weekend leading up to the race for the home team. They weren't having the best of weekends. Bits falling off the car in practice.
Is it just me that thinks in modern Formula One it's fucking ridiculous for a car to have so many brake failures?
Well, it wasn't just brake failures as well. There was carbon fibre failures as well.
Yeah,
There was
no.
Everything was dropping off.
Yeah,
But what took Gutierrez out was a brake failure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like, and when
Oh, was he driving Grosjean's car?
maybe.
Must have been.
No, but like in modern Formula One, for a team that it's and so many times it's happened now where a Haas has been coming down a straight, gone to brake, and there's just been a massive lock off, but no more Haas.
Yeah.
It's a good job we have big super wide circuits.
Especially circuit in the Americas, there's so much runoff area, isn't
Yeah,
there?
yeah. Well, you look at like years back. I mean, I know it's one of the reasons we don't use it anymore. But look like San Marino or something like that.
Yeah,
He might be dead.
yeah. No runoff there, is there?
No.
That's why people still love Monaco so much.
Ask Senna.
Yeah,
No, can't.
Can't.
See proof.
exactly.
But no, I do see what you mean about the brake problems, and the thing is, the team don't actually seem to be able to track down what's causing the problem.
No.
Is it a brake-by-wire fault? Is it the actual brake hardware? Is it the brake-by-wire system not putting out the right signals to the brake hardware itself?
Is it one of those Hamilton-esque problems that only affects the Haas cars, where all the failed components just somehow get bolted to their cars?
Well, if it was brake-by-wire, then they should be able to see the input going to the brake pad saying brake really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they got sensors on everything,
Yeah.
haven't they, on these cars? So they know what's happening with heat, pressure. So that they, if a
Or is it
failure is on the way, they should be able to tell without
Or is
a
it more
failure.
simple than that, and they just don't have a guy working for the team that can install the brakes properly?
Possibly,
I-
that would be
that'd be
surprising.
surprising.
Yeah,
Because let's not forget that even in Manor, you will have some of the best engineers in the fucking world.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
but don't forget that a couple of weeks ago people were saying, well, is it that Mercedes have got someone that can't install Lewis's engine properly?
I didn't say that. I said.
I said people did. I didn't name any specific people, Lee.
I think you just did.
If the cap fits,
yeah.
then it's the American Grand
Skin
Prix
it.
week. No, if the cap fits, it's the American Grand Prix weekend, so you have to wear it backwards.
Yeah.
If the boat fits, two always come at once.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But points for Grosjean again.
A good showing in the end for the home team, but shame for Gutierrez because it wasn't his fault.
No, and from what we got told, a lack of people wearing Haas merchandise around the circuit.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to the fans who got in touch whilst we were stuck at home. A couple of our dedicated listeners acted as reporters for us over the weekend. That'd be
so
Nick Patakis
and Mike McPherson. Thank you for
Thank you to both of you.
everything you've sent us. We shared it all on Facebook. There's plenty of photos on there from the weekend.
appears to be
and
quite popular as well.
Some
Who
reports.
was the guy that met Carlos Sainz?
That was Mike
Mike
McPherson.
McPherson. Yeah.
Does he smell nice, Mike? Because he looks like the type of man.
He looks like
that
he smells like soap.
Yeah, he looks like he would smell exceptional.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared that Lee thinks about this.
No,
But it's the hair.
yeah, exactly. We've
Dan.
noticed the volume in it
Yes.
before.
Dan,
Of course.
I'll put this in simple terms. Barney Stinson always smells awesome.
Well, yeah.
There you go.
Is Carlos Sainz the Barney Stinson of F1?
No.
Well, his dad was legend. Wait for it.
For instance, I don't think Marcus Ericsson would smell very nice.
He smells of money.
I think well,
dirty
dirty
money.
money.
Oh, Derry.
If you get to drive, Julian Palmer will probably smell of lube.
And walk a bit funny.
because he'll be working on his own engine.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. And walking a bit funny because it hurts your legs to be on the floor for that long.
Grosjean clearly reeks of garlic.
Oh yeah.
What do the drivers smell like?
Nico Hulkenberg smells of sausages.
Yeah, of course he smells of sausage.
The Williams drivers smell of whatever brand Unilever are using for the
No, they smell
deodorant that's
Sure.
on the car.
Yeah, sure.
No, they don't smell ashore this week. It was
Degree.
Degree, yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Or Rexona.
And it's Rexona when they're in Europe.
Oh.
It's the same product with different names on.
Pretty much.
What Daniel Ricciardo would smell of like fire, wouldn't he? Like barbecue smell.
Hippie smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not.
Max Verstappen, baby wipes.
Yes. Nico Rosberg, brute.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an overly musky Old Spice.
Yeah, like
overly musky.
yeah, somebody who you probably smell it and wouldn't trust him.
No.
Well, James Hunt used to smell of brute because he used to advertise it.
Yeah, but it was cool then, wasn't it?
It was alright.
Was anything cool in 1976?
James Hunt was cool.
Apart from James Hunt.
There you go.
Chest hair.
Yeah.
Kimmy would smell of vodka.
The Kimmy would smell like James Hunt.
Who's been dead for several years.
Actually, no. Kimmy would smell of last night.
Yeah.
Sebastian would smell of blue.
Blue
Yeah.
flags.
Yeah.
Mm.
What would Hamilton smell like?
Nivea.
Maybe.
Nivea cream.
Oh, yeah.
Likes to do all the advertising for that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was going to argue with that then, but no, I think
I'm
you're
surprised
right.
him and Gerard Butler on the podium actually didn't get together and do a Nivea advert whilst they were up there.
I'm sure we'll probably see one at some point in the not too distant. And
Alonso would smell of tacos. I don't know what. I know it's not Spanish food, but he would just he just looks like the.
No.
He'd smell spicy, wouldn't he?
No, walnuts, because he's headbutted that many open.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you can headbutt walnuts open.
Yeah, they've sunk in. And the
Pascal Wehrlein would smell of chocolate.
Yes, he would.
I don't know. I was going for the two-manner drivers. Would get the smell when you
Desperation.
and when you open a new packet of Lego, that really plasticky smell, because that's who's made both of their hair.
Stoffel would smell of caramel.
Yes.
But what if it was an apple Stoffel?
No, there'd still be some sort of cinnamon.
Yes.
Yes. Stoffel would smell of cinnamon. Jensen would smell of perfect.
Sergio Perez would smell like a field full of wheat.
Massa would smell of wee.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah.
Shall we move on to Toro Rosso?
Please, for the love of all that's holy, please. Let's
I
move on.
was waiting for someone to stop that and it just didn't happen.
Well, you guys were having so much fun.
Well, the thing is, he came straight out of talking about Haas, and we just had a brake failure.
Just quickly before we move on. No, up until this weekend, Danny Kvyat would have smelled of tears. Carry on.
And this weekend he smelt of gaining a place.
Yeah, I still think he'd smell of dry, crusty tears.
He's got that drive for 2017 confirmed as Danny Kvyat now for Toro Rosso.
Yes.
Maybe he smells of lube.
Maybe, but he, I think he's earned it, to be quite honest with you. He
Fucking right if he smells of root lube.
I meant on track, but he's his performance.
The dirt track.
Oh dear, Lee, come on. I'm trying to do a serious podcast here.
No, we're not.
It was just isn't working at all.
No. We tried to do a serious podcast, and it was so serious we couldn't actually do it. That was the official pilot show. One day I will release that.
No,
We broke it down, people, lap for lap. It was fucking painful.
Yes.
And it wasn't even a race. It was just testing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Carry on. I will be serious.
I can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, no, Danny Kvyat earning his 2017 drive. I think he has. He's not quite been as
Mardy.
No, he's not quite been as spectacular on track as Carlos Sainz, perhaps in a lot of ways, but he's dealt with the car he's been given quite well since a couple of races after the summer break. So what's that, like last 4 or 5 races? He's got
And I think we've said this before, the couple of races immediately after the summer break, he had things that stopped him doing well in the car. Either Sainz was way back with him, or he was can't remember, did he have a retirement or
Yeah, he had the small issue as well for a while of a borderline nervous breakdown, it seems.
Yeah, that was before his summer holiday.
It's amazing what a good holiday can do. You can tell I haven't had one in a long time. I can't drive either. No, he's done well. He's definitely earned the place for next year. It's.
I'm glad he's there. I know for all the joke, and I'm glad he's there.
He was biting at the points for a while, wasn't he, in Austin? But he did finish just outside. Obviously with the tussle with K-Mag, but he got given that place back because of the penalty for Magnussen. But go on.
Does Carlos Sainz seem to have gone off the boil since he hasn't been allowed to leave the team?
No,
Don't think so.
Carlos Sainz finished 6th.
Yeah, no, but I just think there's not like.
But we've been saying before.
He hasn't been his usual exciting self.
Yeah, we've been saying before every race though.
It's hard to know.
The car's going to struggle because of last year's engine.
Yeah, it's hard to know where they're going to do well and where they're not going to do well. I think they, along with Sauber, are the only team really who can, and Manor, who can hope for a wet Brazil for them to get like good, decent amount of points.
I think I think Lee does have a point, though. What we've seen is Verstappen has gone to the main team.
Yeah.
And Danny Rick has upped his game.
Yeah, he has. And both Red Bull drivers were mixing it with the Mercedes
And
for a time.
And Sainz has been racing against an utterly dejected Danny Kvyat.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had to
push himself.
He hasn't had to be last year's Sainz.
I tell you what,
I mean, there's an old sport adage: you play to the strength of your opposition, and if he's been told his opposition is in the other Toro Rosso car, all he needs to do when Kvyat's been on the verge of a nervous breakdown is sit in the driver's seat, push the accelerator, or have won.
Well, Carlos Sainz is fucked for 2 years now, unless one of the Red Bull drivers leave.
No, he's come out this week actually and said, I cannot wait around forever being Red Bull's just in case man.
No, he can't wait around forever, but he is in that team for 2 years.
Well, he's in it for next year for definite.
No, definitely, it's a definite 2-year contract
with Red Bull and Toro Rosso.
No, with Red Bull.
Red Bull organisation.
But the thing is, the only way he's going to get moved up is if one of the other drivers leave.
Yeah, that's exactly. He's in. We've said it before.
That's why he's there as well, because when you've got Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen, I think Danny Rick's contract's up at the end of next year.
So is Verstappen's, but Sainz is only contracted for 1 year in Toro Rosso.
Are you sure?
Positive, I'm reading it.
Because that's not... Well, I think that might be wrong.
I'm quoting Autosport here.
But that's not what Martin Brundle was saying and Ted Kravitz was saying at the weekend. Because their thoughts were that... Benson.
He's signed for 1 year with an option.
Yeah, but it's their option. It's not his option.
Yeah, but if another team comes along and says, Carlos, we want you.
Yeah, but you can't go because, like I say, it's their option.
But if another team comes along and says, Carlos, we want you, Dr. Marco, here is a lorry load of money.
Red Bull doesn't need money. Red Bull's got all of the money.
Yeah, no, they're giving it all to Adrian Newman.
Yeah, but the what I'm trying to say is the only reason that they've tied him to that team in there is in case at the end of next year Verstappen or Daniel Ricciardo get an offer from somebody else and they don't stay with Red Bull.
Yeah.
So he's essentially the backup man for 2 years.
Well, he is, yeah.
2 years can fuck a Formula 1 career.
Yeah. What Sainz has actually said is, unless they said they really, really need me for a Red Bull seat, which I would be very happy with, I'm convinced they would be fair enough to find a solution to let him out in 2018.
Yeah, but they wouldn't. They wouldn't let him out this year.
No.
And he wanted to go to Renault. That's the word is that he wanted to leave to go to Renault.
And I think that would have been a smart move for any driver. And I'm surprised it was...
I think Perez must be kicking himself now.
Well, it was his backers really, wasn't it, that decided where he was going to race for next year.
That's the thing. But it was still a solid 6th place for Sainz in the race.
Yeah, it was a cracking race. I feel
could have been
sorry
5th,
for him.
but for the flying Fernando Alonso, which we'll get to in a bit. But I mean, that was just for Carlos Sainz in a car that we said is going to struggle so much. I mean, all right, fair enough. We lost a Ferrari.
Yeah,
we lost a But
we lost to Force India.
We lost to Force India,
and there was an out of place Williams.
And there was an out of place Williams, but there's these things. These things happen in races.
Yeah, of course. And they're the times where you guys in your midfield teams
got to take advantage.
To perform.
Yeah. And Carlos Sainz.
But even if those 3 cars had still either been in the race or not lost a place, he would have still finished in the points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On to Force India next. I was expecting more from Perez.
I expected more from Force India.
It was a bit of a disappointing race for Force India. Hulk, of course, after that first lap, was coming together, came into the pits, thought it looked like a nose cone change to send him back out. He just didn't. They pulled him into the pits, and then that was it.
You get the feeling that Force India might have pulled the pin on this year's car now, don't you? Because
possibly
realistic, but the when they were really hassling people earlier in the year. You get the feeling that if this race would have been earlier in the year, it would have been one of the races where they might have been even looking at like front row qualifiers, first 2 rows qualifying.
Yeah, Perez was caught up on first lap incidents as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that did any damage to his car or anything, but it was a less impressive drive from Sergio Perez as we've been used to in recent races. He was way down at like 13th, 14th at one point. And he fought back to finish in the points. So in that respect, that's a job well done. And he limited the damage that Williams could have done to Force India as well, because at one point Hülkenberg retired, Perez was out of the points, and Massa was running in 5th, which would have tied Williams with Force India for that battle for 4th. So for Perez to come back and sort of limit that damage to Force India, I think they'd be fairly satisfied with what he did. If I was Bob Fernley, for example, at Force India, I'd be pretty satisfied with what Sergio Perez did on Sunday. Could have done better, but I'm not gonna, one of those. I'm not gonna berate him or ask him questions just yet. But
the car wasn't there, really, was it? It wasn't. The car wasn't there, as what we've seen from Force
And
India.
I think when you've had a boof up the back like he did at the start of the race,
and he qualified.
You'll see a lot of the cars just
ask Danny Kvyat.
Yeah.
He qualified 11th as well, so he was outside the. He didn't make Q3, so you've got to take that into account as well. Perhaps the car is not the car itself has fallen backwards, but they've cut development on it.
Well, you've got to think your three races to the end. I know the race in Williams, but Williams appear to have stopped developing that car as well. So if you already think that you're ahead in development of the team you're racing in the championship, and they've stopped developing, all you're doing is throwing money down the drain and getting yourself further behind on next year by continuing to go.
Again, win as slowly as you can.
Yeah,
always. By preserving everything.
Yeah.
Right, Lee, do you want to go off on one then?
It's McLaren time.
Not happy.
Go on.
Well, on the face of it looks like a good weekend for
you haven't been happy since the Mercedes logo on the front of the car got changed to a Honda one?
No, not really. And even
it was a cracking start by McLaren, I'd like to point out. I think
it was.
Button had a cracker of the first lap.
Jensen start 17th, and by the end 19th, sorry. And by the end of the first sector, 10th. He was 9th. Sorry,
9th
he was 9th at the end of the first sector.
Yeah. The problem I've got with that is that they essentially went backwards through the race up until cars dropped out.
There was 7th and 9th at the end.
That happens pretty frequently because they both get great starts.
Yeah.
They make up a whole load of places and then just can't stay where they are.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, this weekend, because realistically, you've got... where was Alonso? Alonso was 5th?
Alonso was 5th.
So realistically, Alonso should have been 9th. If everything was equal and the Ferrari hadn't gone, the Force India was in there.
Red Bull and the Williams.
Yeah, because
even still a points finish.
Yeah, but it's only a point, and I just don't know. Like, this was the race. Don't forget how strong they were last year here.
Yeah, I mean he matched his performance, but I mean we had the same at Austin last year. A few people dropping out in front.
The car is supposed to be better this year at this point of the year. The car is supposed to be a better car now, whereas it doesn't appear to be. It seems to be not far away from where they were last year in Austin.
Yeah, before they dropped.
Because last year a 5th was amazing.
Yeah, well, I'd say it was still pretty amazing. I know Alonso's done it once before this year, hasn't he?
This year it's good.
Yeah.
It's not as big a deal as it was 12 months ago.
But I just don't know. I don't see the...
Made all the more, but I mean, don't forget, last year he got a 5th, the race after the whole, this is a GP2
But look
engine.
at the development, right? I know they had a really, really bad year last year. But look at the development they did to catch up with the teams through last year. I don't see the same development this year. It looked really good for a while, up to like Spa, and then it's just sort of stalled and faltered.
Honda, remember, cancelled Christmas leave for their Formula 1 division.
Do you not think that maybe they've started focusing on 2017 as well?
Yeah, but I just don't. I don't know. I think, and especially with things like with what we're saying now about Ron Dennis and things now, but I think that's a good move anyway, because I think when people get to a certain age, I don't think they should. I think they should be stepped down essentially.
It's called retirement.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I don't think they should hire Ross Brawn, because I think it will be a short-term solution. And they don't need a short-term
to a long-term
solution.
Problem.
Yeah.
Just to give a bit more background on this, there were reports coming out this weekend that Ron Dennis is going to be, either fired or not have his contract renewed at the end of the year by
It-
McLaren because he's fallen out with the other two backers of the team, because he owns 25%, Mansour owns 25%,
Yeah.
and the other 50% is owned by the Bahraini royal family.
Yeah. Apparently, it's the Bahrainis that don't want him there. That's his big opposition.
I wonder if this has got anything to do with the potential McLaren takeover as well. Not necessarily from Apple, but although we discussed
Ron
it
has
in the
been trying
past.
to buy a controlling interest in the team for a while, and he's not been able to either raise the funds or get the other shareholders to agree to the sale.
So the other shareholders have essentially gotten together and said, Ron, we think it's time you stepped down. And there are a number of people in the frame to take over from Ron as CEO of McLaren, and one of them is
Martin Whitmarsh.
Yeah, quite hilariously, Martin Whitmarsh, who is still employed by McLaren, but is, I believe, but he's not nothing to do with the Formula One side of things anymore. He's McLaren Automotive, I believe.
I
Reports
didn't think he was still in the McLaren group, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think he was moved sideways.
No, he's chief exec of the Ross Brawn, Adrian Newey America's Cup team.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yes, I remember that now.
Ross Brawn, Adrian Newey America's Cup team.
Yeah.
So Martin Whitmarsh to take over from Ron Dennis would be for Martin Whitmarsh, that would just be the ultimate revenge, wouldn't it?
Oh, he'd have to do it.
Yeah.
He would have to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you think then if they're pushing Ron out, and we've talked before about maybe a possible McLaren buyout?
Yeah.
Do you think that the other shareholders might quite fancy a McLaren buyout, and they think Ron might get in the way of this if he's around when it's
that
going
would
to happen?
Now, you're saying about Ross Brawn being too old and it only being a short-term solution. He's only 3 years older than Martin Whitmarsh.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Martin Whitmarsh is the right guy either. How old Martin Whitmarsh?
58.
Yeah. See,
I think that Ross Brawn would probably be a good solution, because what he is really good at is building a team.
And man management.
Yeah, so I think you'd only need 3 years with Ross Brawn there to put in structures that had last for a decade.
If you could take a Ross Brawn in, and at the same time either appoint from inside the company or hire his successor to work hand in hand with him,
Yeah.
that might be the way.
Look
James
at
Allison.
I mean, look at Mercedes at the moment. That Mercedes team was essentially that Mercedes team was essentially born out of Ross Brawn's Brawn GP, his restructuring that he did after Honda pulled out.
Yeah.
And they won that first championship in 2009, and then Mercedes came along with a big load of money and said, we want to buy your team. And the part of the deal that Ross did with them was like, all right, okay, but I'm an executive of some description within the team, and
that's exactly the job title of Niki Lauda.
Yeah, non-executive chairman, isn't he? Niki Lauda can't make any decisions by himself.
Means he can wear his own hat.
Yeah.
The other name in the frame for the McLaren job is Justin King, who used to be the chief executive of Sainsbury's Supermarkets.
Seems like a Ferrari manoeuvre.
Yeah, it does.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Get a retail bloke in to manage the team.
It's worked. It's done the power of good for Ferrari, hasn't it?
It's
strength upon strength.
No, it's done the power of good for Red Bull.
Right. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe Maurizio's a fucking a Red Bull.
Red Bull spy.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he is. Agent Arriva Bene. Do you know him, Dan?
I do not know him, no.
Fair enough.
Well,
I would have to deny it if I did.
Well, no, because Dan's all healthy and stuff and has never smoked.
Red Bull gives you reconnaissance.
Is Maurizio Arrivabene your equivalent to cigarette smoking man?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
What, cigarette selling man?
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, McLaren are not, I wouldn't say they're in turmoil at all. They're making a business decision to improve things for the Formula One team and the group as a whole. I think on track they are heading in the right direction, but it's a lot slower than anybody would have liked.
They need a quantum leap forward next year.
They do. and they might
Oh
get
boy,
it.
do they need one. Everybody get the reference?
Yeah.
There was a series called Quantum Leap, and the main character's catchphrase was "Oh boy."
Oh, it was as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. I only remember Ziggy. Really, he was the cool one with the little handset.
No, Ziggy was the computer.
Oh,
It was Al that had the
Al had
handset.
the
Yeah.
handset. Do, 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 do.
Well, someone playing guitar there.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
I thought we had items.
It made a funny noise before as well. I don't know what it was.
But one way that McLaren did screw up this week, they just got Jensen's qualifying completely wrong, sending him out in traffic.
You
Yeah.
need a new fucking tally when that was going down.
You've only had that one about 3 months.
Yeah.
Not even that long,
The
is it?
garden nearly had one through the window.
Yeah, they did completely stuff up Jensen's qualifying. Got that massively wrong.
Could we say they completely smedled it?
No,
Because
not
Williams
quite.
are next.
Well, we'll talk about Williams then, shall we?
Massa, fairly anonymous 7th.
No,
Up until
not
the
really.
End.
He
Up
wasn't
until
really.
the end.
No, he was running up, and he was the benefactor of everybody. When everybody decided to do the early pit stops, and Vettel decided to stay out, and then Vettel came in way later than everyone else, and then decided actually that was the wrong thing to do. Massa was the benefactor and moved up from like 9th place all the way up to 5th because everybody else panicked and brought their cars in because were panicking about undercuts and losing too much time to the cars in front. They weren't watching what was going on behind them. Massa ran a lot of the race in 5th place, and then towards the end of the race his tyres didn't really work for him. But that's something we've seen with the Williams quite a lot recently, is that towards the end of the race or the end of a stint their tyres just don't last. They can't make like a medium set of tyres, for example, which Mercedes could probably have done the entire race on. Williams seemed to struggle looking after a set of tyres as opposed to Pirelli say you can do excuse me, for example, like 30 laps. Williams might do 22 laps and then have to pit.
And everyone else will do 35.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Williams are not looking after their tyres particularly well. So
Well, Fernando wasn't looking after Massa's tyres at the end.
Yeah.
no.
The other thing that struck me, and I don't know if he had car damage, but Bottas got tagged at the start, got a puncture, went to the back. Most other drivers you'd see work their way through the pack and back towards the pointy end.
We've been seeing a lot of this from Bottas this year, though. No, he's had a couple of drives where he's been okay, but underwhelming for the last 2 years.
I don't know what the
And is he going to be underwhelming next year? Because obviously he's staying with the team.
Well, I think that's a given then.
we think he's staying with the team. We're pretty sure he is.
No,
but
it has been confirmed by everybody apart from Williams.
yeah, Williams are going to be the last ones to confirm it after Mexico.
They're
Apparently.
kind of the important ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm a bit wary of saying that it's confirmed. But the Bottas was behind the Manners, cleared the Manners, and then took a long time to catch anyone else before, surprise, surprise, his tyres went off. And then after his tyres went off, he had to, his strategy was completely ballsed up. And like Dan said, I don't know if he got any damage to his car or whether, floor damage or aero, lack of aero or anything like that.
It didn't look like he would have done, but with the lack of any kind of pace, you'd have to assume he did.
Possibly, yeah.
It was late on in the race where he got just before Kimi went out. Actually, he got lapped by both Ferraris at the same time, and I just found it really ironic that if all things had been going to plan, he would have been actually in one of those Ferraris.
Could have been, yeah, but he isn't, and he has to deal with what he's got, and what he's got is a car that doesn't look after its tyres. So difficult for Williams, but they appear to be moving forward. Massa's not going to be there next year, and it looks like Lance Stroll is.
They're not moving forward, though, are they? The team isn't moving forward.
Well, everyone's moving forward.
They've dropped behind Force India.
Yeah, but what I'm saying with driver lineup.
Oh, sorry, I thought
Driver
moving
lineup.
forward is in car.
No. They're moving forward now with the driver lineup for 2017. It looks as like. Lance Stroll is going to take Massa's seat, which is no surprise to anyone who's vaguely familiar with Formula One. It does look as though, was it last week we reported about Lawrence Stroll, Lance's dad, buying a huge stake in the team?
Yeah, there was rumours that he'd bought 50% of the team.
I don't know that.
What a coincidence! You just wouldn't credit that.
No, the money in Formula 1 is getting a bit silly, isn't it? To be quite honest with you. But the
similar coincidence with Ericsson.
Yeah, exactly, and many other drivers in the past with teams that have come and gone.
Next, you'll tell me Jolyon Palmer's going to go to Force India, and his dad's going to give them a load of money.
That's quite possible. But everybody except for Williams has confirmed that it's Bottas and Stroll for next year.
I mean, the BBC are reporting it as a given, but they did say in the story a Williams spokeswoman refused to comment.
Yeah.
In other words, they haven't finished writing the press release yet.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's they're waiting for the ink to dry, aren't they?
Yeah. Williams have just been a letdown. All the talk of what they were going to do this season, and they've had nothing to back it up. We say this every time.
They have done exactly the same that Ferrari have. Just bugger all.
Yeah.
In fact, they haven't been quite as spectacular as Ferrari.
In fact, they're completely doing it the same as Ferrari because they are 2 places behind where they said they should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Ferrari's issues are bigger than Williams's. Williams have at least slipped back as a unit.
Williams' problems,
Ferrari
I think,
broke down into a fucking civil war.
Yeah. Williams' problems are very British. They're like, we haven't got a lot of money, but we're going to try and fight through this, and we're going to do our very best. We're not doing very well here. In fact, we're falling backwards. Damn and blast! What should we do now? That old Brazilian chap is retiring. We best get this young Canadian buck in to give us some good chances for the next season. And Ferrari have just imploded in the most Italian way possible. And we're going to go, oh my God, what am I going to do?
This loud argument with arms waving.
Yeah. and food being thrown everywhere, and your mother and my mother, and you don't talk about my mother. And then
and Kimi Räikkönen stood there going, can I drive the car now?
But we don't know. It's all Sebastian's fault.
Yeah, to be honest,
I still get the checks.
I think what happened to Kimi is the perfect metaphor for Ferrari. Grinds to a halt and then just goes backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, but
and the wheels came off.
Yeah.
I felt terribly sorry for Kimi Räikkönen for that because
I felt sorry for that cameraman that was following him that got the full force of the Kimi death stare halfway down the pit lane.
One more fucking step. One more.
Yeah, there's some guy holding a steady cam going, I do not get paid anywhere close to enough for this.
Yeah, pretty much. But the having to reverse down the pit lane. It was a wheel gun, wasn't it, attached to Kimi Räikkönen's?
Yeah, the wheel.
They don't think the wheel went on properly. Was it ever confirmed after the race as to whether or not the wheel was attached properly?
No, it wasn't.
He got a €5,000. Well, they got a €5,000 fine for an unsafe release. That's yeah.
What I think would be funny is if it was all precautionary and it actually was on.
That's what I mean.
Seems to be wobbling.
That's what I want to find out. I mean, they told Kimi to stop, so he stopped, and nobody came to his rescue. So he rolled back down the pit lane a little bit, and still no one came to his rescue. And he crossed the line so that he was definitely in the pits and put his car sort of where Parc Fermé was, and you could see him talking on the radio. And they always went, "No, just switch it off."
Yeah.
We've got another one. Leave it there.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be said, when Ferrari screw up a pit stop, they really do screw up in style. Anybody remember Massa and the fuel hose in Singapore?
Yes.
Yeah, and the severe lack of mechanics that ran down to help him out. If I remember correctly, the fuel man, the man who was actually supposed to detach the fuel hose way back when refueling was a thing, didn't run down to the end of the pit lane to help the guys unattach the fuel hose. It was just tyre mechanics who ran down to try and unattach the fuel hose.
Because the fuel guy couldn't run down to the end of the pit lane because he'd broken his ankle when the fuel hose came out of the refueling rig and belted him.
Yeah.
He was actually sitting on the ground going, "Oh gosh, that's a bit sore."
Yes,
I think we can accept that excuse.
Yeah, I think we.
With somebody else walking up to go, Dave, do you want a fag? No! No!
No cigarette lighting here.
Yeah, it was Aretha Benny that walked up to him and said, "You want a fag? It's my job to sell them." But yeah, once
Have a look at Nicky Lauda and ask me that question again.
Oh no.
But once again, when there's a spectacular screw up to be done, Ferrari managed to do it either at the track, off the track, God knows where.
Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, Ferrari now, I think, are that much of a shambles that we should really give Smedley a break. Because I think the Smedley Award is now he's bennied it.
Yeah, I mean, arrive well, leave in turmoil.
Yeah, he did arrive well. He's everything since.
I like the idea that when
gone
he
a bit pear shaped.
At the end of this year, when Aretha Benny gets sacked, he'll just be like ciao, and as he walks off, there'll be like explosions in the factory.
Or he'll get on a horse, light up a cigarette, and ride off into the sunset.
He'll throw the lit cigarette over his shoulder.
You just messed with the wrong Italian. As he puts like a pair of aviator sunglasses.
Throw the cigarette over his shoulder and it lands on next year's car blueprints.
Yeah. And then out from the flames, once the flames have died down, walks the Iceman.
Can I drive the car now?
Do I still get the checks?
I come back next year.
I mean, they got a fourth with Vettel. They should have done better.
They should have done, but they didn't. I mean, they capitalized. I've got to say, they capitalized from the retirement of a Red Bull.
Yeah,
and getting that fourth place. The top four, when it was the two Red Bulls, the two Mercedes, were miles ahead of the two Ferraris. The top four keeping pace with each other, but Ferrari. Was it Marchioni who said it would be a disaster if they didn't win a race this year?
Yeah, it's a disaster. I'm calling it a disaster.
Prepare
now.
For a disaster. Another team who need a wet Brazil and all the cars to crash into each other.
They need a wet Brazil and to turn up on jet skis.
Yeah, they need a wet Brazil and Rosberg to hit Hamilton and Verstappen to hit Ricciardo for them to have anything to go on, to be quite honest with you.
They need a full-on Three Stooges in front of them.
Yeah, they do, massively so.
Like biblical amounts of bullshit.
Unfortunately, they've got the three silly twerps running the team and the two twerps short. Red Bull.
Talking of fucking up your pit stops.
Oh, what?
But hang on, can I just... fucking up your pit stops. Max Verstappen this weighs massively heavily on your shoulders because of... You didn't get a call to come into the pits. You didn't press your pit confirm button.
He was told to push hard
and
for a lap. So he pushed hard and then came into the pits.
Maybe he pushed the pit button hard.
I don't think he did.
No, he didn't. He didn't pit because that's what Sky was saying, was that the team would have known because a big, massive pit confirm light would come on in the pits. You know your car's coming in that lap. Yeah. He just came in. The first he saw of it was when we're watching the TV, seeing him peel off into the pit. Like, bloody hell, he's on his way in. Yeah. And Red Bull, like the first garage that they got to in Austin, and as Verstappen came in, they had to move all the bags of air out of the way that they keep all their guns in and things like that.
I gotta say, it was a hell of an impressive pit stop.
Do you know what it was? Because if you watch the replay of the pit stop, before the rear jack man has the car up on the jacks, the rear left tyre man has the wheel off. Yeah. And the new one ready to go on.
Yeah, I mean, I am
it's not completely up in the air, and he's got that wheel off.
I am nominating that pit stop for the inaugural 3 Legs 4 Wheels Turd Polishing Award.
Apparently, it was faster than Ricciardo's stop in Monaco.
Fucking hell.
And they were expecting that one. Christian Horner explained it as he thought he heard the call the previous lap, but got himself confused. It's something that's totally unusual. He just arrived in the pit lane and said, "I'm in the pit lane." We're not very good at fitting.
Surprise!
We're not very good at fitting tyres when we don't know he's coming in.
So fair play to the pit crew. They did a tremendous job.
Oh God, yeah, definitely.
And then he did his very, very best job of fucking his teammates' race up.
Again, he said he got confused because he said the team told him to keep going. even though there was a rattling coming from the car and it was the gearbox that had
Yeah,
gone.
but why did he?
and-
Yeah, but he'd almost got back to back there. Surely he'd have been better off continuing round then and going to the pits. He left.
That's what I thought he was doing.
Yeah. But when he pulled in and left the car there, it was always going to be some sort of safety car there. It was
Well, no,
fucking
the problem is
ridiculous.
he stopped. The team told him to pull over and stop the car there.
Yeah.
But then he couldn't. The neutral button wouldn't go in. So normally they'd have put it in neutral and rolled the car in between the fences. But the neutral button wouldn't
I'd
engage.
argue he could have drove it into that hole.
But
that
the
was
neutral,
there.
if
No,
you
no,
can't
but-
engage neutral, you can't engage reverse.
No, but he drove past the hole, so they could back him into the hole.
Well, yeah, because of the way that
Yeah,
the
because
fences
you're
are
not
staggered.
allowed to drive into the gap. You have to be pushed through the hole in the
Yeah,
gap.
because the
Oh,
fence,
yeah,
the
no,
fences
okay.
are staggered in
No,
such a way
it was
that-
slap. It was slap bang in front of him.
Yeah.
that one.
No, your car has got to be wheeled into there. You can't
Right.
you can't drive the car in.
But
And then when he couldn't engage neutral, then they had to bring the tractor out.
well,
and that's when the virtual safety car happened.
I'd like to know whether he was told to go past all those gates, like, because he was fucking weaving all over the line as well. You know, all over the circuit.
Yeah, he was trying to stay off the racing line, which of course comes to that side of the circuit and then goes back to the other.
Yeah, but fucking Renault had to overtake him on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bang out of order. It was, and the fact he got that people voted for him to be fucking driver. of
I
the
think
day.
we'll talk about driver of the day in a bit.
Oh,
Because
I fucking
Yeah.
swear that's the second time this year that democracy has been made a shambles of.
Absolutely.
It's up to Trump to make a hat trick.
Yeah, Danny Rick ended up having his race ruined. He could have got second out of that, possibly a win. But Rosberg got the free pit stop. And
unlikely.
got-
Hamilton
you
and
would have got
Rosberg
a
got a
win.
free pit stop. Both of them got
yes,
free
they
pit stop.
did both pit under the.
Because I
virtual
was
safety
I
car.
was very surprised to hear that Lewis Hamilton was going to box under the virtual safety car, and I thought, well, this is a bit. What if the virtual safety car ends and Rosberg's out in front and he doesn't have to pit for a little while because he's on the longer stint tyres? This could get a bit tasty. And then straight away, as soon as I was thinking this, they came on the radio to Nico and said, "Nico, box confirmed." I was like, they're double stacking the Mercedes under the virtual safety car. This isn't going to work.
How-
But it did, because they had such a gap back to Ricciardo.
But
How many
They
laps-
didn't double stack.
They didn't double stack in the end.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
No, they
They
didn't.
didn't they?
No, they
The
brought
virtual
Lewis in a
safety
lap
car.
later.
Yeah, Lewis went on.
Oh, right, okay.
How many laps?
I got that wrong.
How many laps had Ricardo done on his tyres at that point?
I don't know.
One or two. He hadn't done a lot.
Right, so it wouldn't have made any sense at all to bring him in for a
No,
free
no,
start.
no.
Again, for a few seconds, I thought they were going to. I thought the virtual safety car would have completely undercut,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Ricciardo would be well in with a shout of winning, which would have been the case. If
Without the virtual safety car, I think he'd have been second.
yeah, I think he would have been second without the virtual safety car.
8 seconds he lost,
Was it 8 seconds?
seconds.
Good lord!
and that was 8 seconds from where they were when they came out on track, I think. So what you've got to think is that not only did he lose 8 seconds, he lost what he would have also gained from doing the undercut. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
I want to give Red Bull the another made up award for most memorable team radio of the weekend. I'm not here to finish fourth. Well done, Max. You're not here to finish fourth.
Good prediction.
Yeah, good prediction. You're not here to finish fourth.
Yeah.
And
The other one.
the other one from Danny Ricciardo. I'd love to catch that motherfucker.
That also wins the factual award.
Factual Team Radio Award.
One thing,
For Danny Rick to say that about Nico Rosberg, and then after the race to come on the radio and say he's actually a really nice person, he's one of my best mates. I think someone at Red Bull have been like, yeah, Mercedes have told him on the radio what you said.
one thing I will say good for Red Bull this weekend is Red Bull are so good at making implementing strategies on the Saturday that essentially fuck Mercedes
That dictate the race.
up.
They pitted so early.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, are Mercedes going to react, or are they just going to do their own
Yeah.
race? And they knew they had to react because if they didn't, they would have been undercut by the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
And they weren't on the right tyres to to react.
No.
They should have
correct.
stayed out for
Yeah.
what about 10 laps longer, wasn't
Well,
it?
Yeah, something like
Paul and I were in the Three Legs Four Wheels blogging room, and
with lots of TVs.
yeah, and we spotted a tweet from James Allen, who knows absolutely fuck all to do with anything, and he said we're expecting the first pit stops to be between laps 10 and 22. It's like, well, how vague is that for a fucking open window?
We're expecting them to be between laps 1 and 74.
Exactly, yeah.
There will be pit stops during the race. We can quite confidently predict that.
Yeah, and he got it fucking wrong anyway, because the first pit stop was lap 8.
Yeah.
He's fucking genuinely the worst F1 journalist in my living memory.
Yeah,
He's an
absolutely.
absolute twat.
He's awful. And he thinks he knows everything.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I said at the time when we saw that tweet, it's like, you are actually employed by FOM to be an expert as well.
Yeah, and you're not.
Yeah.
We did get a tweet that Gemma forwarded on to us about the Danny Rick and Mercedes thing.
Yeah.
Mainly about the cool down room, but Danny with the Merc boys post race is always like a clueless bouncy kid in a car with his parents after they've had a fight.
I'm gonna fucking sue Formula One for calling that room the cool down room because it's false advertising.
It's not the cool down room, is it?
Awkward room.
Yeah, the
Well,
room.
the atmosphere is a little bit frosty when Lewis and Nico are in there.
The post race room of awkwardness.
Yeah.
Well, it was at one point, didn't Nico Rosberg look over towards Lewis Hamilton and say, "What did you say, mate?" And Lewis was like, "Pff, whatever."
I like the room of awkwardness that's just off the corridor of discontent.
Yeah.
The corridor of discontent is the pit lane if you're in a Ferrari, isn't it?
Also, after the race, when we saw Herbie Blash in the inverted commas cool down room, why did he suddenly turn around and run back down the stairs again? What had he forgotten, or who had he forgotten to bring into the cool down room?
Who?
Herbie Blash, the
Watchman.
Yeah, he's the assistant race director to Charlie Whiting.
Oh yeah, the guy that had the Stetson on.
Yeah. He was in the cool down room and he turned around and went, pulled the face over, he'd forgotten something and ran off.
He'd forgotten Gerard Butler.
I think that's might have been who he'd forgotten. He
brought a Hoff with him by accident.
Yeah, that didn't happen, did it? Podium.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4!
Oh dear. But yeah, all in all for Red Bull could have been a lot better, but they were unlucky. They were clever, but it didn't work for them, and they were unlucky as well with the virtual safety car.
Did anyone notice that Jared Butler had signed Danny Ricciardo's shoe?
Had signed it.
Yeah,
No.
you know that he did the shoe in. This is fucking ace. The signature read, "Fuck you, Jared Butler."
Is that what you wrote?
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. The thing is, that'll probably go for auction for charity for a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah, and a bit of forethought from somebody at the Red Bull camp to make sure there was a can of Red Bull up there for Gerard Butler to do a shoot.
I don't think there's never not a can of Red Bull somewhere.
Well, possibly, yeah.
Well, don't Red Bull sponsor Gerard Butler anyway? For
Yeah,
certain
he's
things?
is
he their spokesmodel or something?
he was there with Red Bull, as were a lot of extreme people. Lindsey Vonn, the downhill skier, was there with Red Bull, but she's also friends with Lewis Hamilton.
Ooh, twat of the weekend.
Go on.
Serena Williams. Fucking knobber.
Oh, Venus Williams, I think
Venus
it was.
Williams, sorry.
Yeah, for
What
just.
a knobhead.
I'm not talking to anyone. I'm Venus Williams.
Privileged motherfucker.
Also there with Red Bull.
What?
She was there with Red Bull.
Yeah. But like the. Did you see the? Did you both see that?
Yeah, right. On the
This
grid
was the Martin Brundle went to try and interview her.
Yeah. No. Can I ask you that question again? You're just like, I don't know. Like, you get. That's clearly somebody that's forgotten exactly
Where they came
exactly
from.
how fucking lucky she is to be in the position she's in.
Yeah.
Or it's someone on a weekend off.
No, but
Who's been invited to go to a race, wants to watch the race, doesn't want to.
I'd argue that you're not on your weekend off because you're the position that you are in like has given you access to where you are.
Yeah, but at the same time, when she's doing tennis, she's available for interviews.
Yeah, but
I
no,
I don't disagree with
you. Do you know what?
But
Right? No, because there's never an excuse to be ignorant to somebody. Not like that. And essentially, go out of your way to almost embarrass somebody on television is, I think, slightly wrong.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, but it's.
I'd never, if someone walked up to me and asked me a question, it had nothing to do with a situation like that. But if someone just walked up to me to ask me questions, you'd never turn around and say no.
Because I think once you're in the public eye, you're never really out of it. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're a
Yeah.
sports person of the sort of stature of Venus Williams, for example, who has won multiple Grand Slam tennis tournaments.
Okay, well, we've never seen it before.
No.
Not to that degree.
No.
And the other thing I'd say,
I think the only other person I can remember who refused an interview on the grid was a model at Monaco. Was it Cara Delvini or someone like that, who refused to speak to Martin Brundle because she didn't really know anything about Formula One, which is fine. You're allowed to do that.
We do see drivers occasionally refuse to give interviews on the grid, which is fair enough.
Well, they're actually there in a working capacity,
and they're doing their job in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. And they have a media schedule, and the media know when they can and can't talk to drivers. The grid, to be
pure ignorance.
The grid, to be honest, if you have been given passes to go on the grid, it wouldn't surprise me if there was something that you had to sign to say you consent to being filmed.
Oh yeah,
and spoken to.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing as well. These people get invited to races. It's not like they're not like getting invited to a party. They're invited to represent whatever team is giving them the tickets.
I mean, look at the other end of the spectrum on the grid walk for Martin Brundle.
Gordon Ramsay.
No, Major Tim Peake. Formula One fan, watched the Formula One race whilst he was up in the International Space Station, and actually, as soon as Martin Brundle came up to him, knew who Martin was, greeted him by name, shook his hand, and spoke to him for a little bit.
And as Paul was saying, Gordon Ramsay,
who was just that desperate to be on camera,
ran up to him
to be on camera. That was a bit
forced Brundle to interview him.
Yeah, that was a little bit sort of like, hello, I'm here, but that is the opposite end of the spectrum, actually.
He was there allegedly with McLaren, but I think he was trying to sell the FIA a new bleep machine.
Possibly, or maybe Gordon Ramsay's going to be the new chief of McLaren.
No, I reckon he's a pastry chef this weekend.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
We didn't see Billy at all, did we?
No.
He just like, oh, it's so beautiful.
What did I hear? Who was it that mentioned the rumour? Was it you, Lee, or somebody else around the table mentioned the rumour about?
If it was
Eric
correct,
Boulier,
it was probably me.
Eric Boulier possibly going to Ferrari.
His name has been mentioned in connection with Arriva Bene's job.
Is it?
Yeah.
Italian pastries. How could he turn that down? I couldn't.
We haven't
nice espresso with them.
We haven't talked about Mercedes.
Not yet.
There isn't really a lot to say. They
qualified first and second, finished first and second.
They kept it clean. They didn't make any mistakes. There are a few tyre lockups. Rosberg had to defend a little bit from Max Verstappen at times.
Dropped to third, which he shouldn't really have done, but got it back.
Rosberg showing Schumacher levels of luck in that weekend.
I think he kept his head though as well.
Rosberg was trying to defend. Was trying to attack Lewis too hard at the start, which meant that he couldn't defend against Danny Rick, and that's where he lost the place.
Yeah.
Well, he got on the curb, didn't he, too early through turn 2.
Yeah.
And lost a little bit of traction and had to back out of defending the move. So that's why he dropped back to third. And when he was given the only time we sort of really saw Nico not necessarily lose his head, but he sort of questioned something was we're going to go for the long game, Nico, push hard. And he's like, pushing hard is not the long game. Yeah, so he wanted to maybe sit back and look after his tyres a bit more in a comfortable third place, but the team were quite keen for him to get past Danny Rick. However, Max Verstappen, as we've already explained, saw to that quite nicely. And And Lewis Hamilton showed, it would be very strange to say this, Lewis Hamilton showed a Nico Rosberg-esque style of driving where you just go out front and don't do anything for most of the race.
Yeah.
Like used to be known as Vetteling it.
Or Schumachering it. Yeah.
Or Hamilton it last year.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Hamilton did just that last year. So he knows how to do it. The question is, how much longer can he do it for? And he really has to rely on something to go wrong for Nico Rosberg.
He needs the Red Bulls to really get on board with something. You know, he needs them to. He needs to win every race. He needs them to be on the podium with him.
Yeah.
He needs them to be
in between him and Rosberg.
Both Red Bulls on the podium, realistically.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
He needs them on the podium with him.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that pretty much everyone in Mercedes went home happy this weekend. Rosberg would have liked a first, but a second's good enough.
Yeah. Damage limitation for him. Damage limitation for Hamilton in terms of the championship.
It's clawed back a few points.
Yeah.
The rest of the team.
It's down to
absolutely
26.
perfect.
It's still more than a race.
Yeah.
Do you know what I will be interested in is, let's say Lewis wins the next 2 races. Yeah. So what?
Mexico and Brazil.
So let's say Let's say it's 1-2 for the next 2 races. Yeah.
Yep.
That means
Rosberg needs to finish third or better.
Third or better. Yeah.
In Abu Dhabi. Yeah.
Lewis has been in this situation before. Rosberg is staring down the barrel of possibly the only opportunity he'll have to win a world championship, given that the big rule shake-ups, we think it's going to throw Red Bull right into the mix next year. You know, so
I wouldn't be so sure it's his only chance.
No, but it could very possibly be.
Could well be.
Yeah.
But
until we see what happens in testing next year.
Yeah.
It's very conceivable that the new cars will suit him better than they do Lewis Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
Or vice versa. Lewis Hamilton might walk all over him.
I don't think they will suit him, but I think the bigger tyres will suit Hamilton better. But
I would imagine so.
Pure speculation. Obviously.
If you're able to push harder, it would seem to suit the Alonsos and Hamiltons, the more aggressive drivers.
But
if you think about how good Vettel was and how bad he was as soon as the double diffuser era ended.
But what my thought with Rosberg was, he's been pretty much. I mean, even when Hamilton's come back at him, he's been pretty faultless through the year. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think he's got the bottle. It goes down to the last race.
It only takes one mistake.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton knows this all too well. 2007. And then again, nearly again in 2008.
Yeah. Look at Vettel, for instance. When he won the race, he won the World Championship in the end, but against Fernando. But like, he'd been flawless all year, and then that start, and he ended up facing the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't. I think when the pressure's on Rosberg, we saw it this weekend when Danny Ricciardo was putting pressure on him, he locked up all over the place. Ran wide.
Yeah, and Mercedes, Toto has said there's a good chance that our drivers will have to cope with a poor start.
Yeah,
we know what a poor start does to Lewis Hamilton. He's had many of them. What would a poor start do for Nico Rosberg?
That's it. And I think the I did think, and that fucking lost what I was going to say.
I think he's got a good head on his shoulders at the moment, Nico. He's not down. He's quite.
But he hasn't been tested, has he? He hasn't really had pressure all year.
And I think, I still believe, as I said last week's podcast, that we're going to see a situation where Nico is leading a race and Lewis is in second, and the Mercedes team will try something to stop them from getting too close to each other, and the drivers won't listen to them. And it'll start probably with Lewis not listening to them. Lewis, change your engine mode. Well, you can't be told to change your engine mode anymore, can you? Or
I think you can again now.
Can you, Lewis?
Yeah, I think they've seen common sense with the radio regs.
Yeah, Lewis, consider changing an engine mode, because we know you're keen to chase after Nico, but come on, let's look after the car. We don't want a repeat of bloody blah races
I
where you've had
must say
failures.
as well.
And then it'd be Lewis going, no, I've got to take him, I've got to have him, I've got to take this risk, and then Nico does something with his car, and we see a coming together of some sorts. Whether it's a major coming together and they both retire, or it's just a coming together where one of them comes off worse and a bit of damage. It could be something
Or they
quite
push
minor.
too hard and somebody makes a mistake by trying too hard.
But you are also forgetting the fact that I think Nico Rosberg has the mentality that if he's in the situation where he can get away with it, he would just go, I can end this right now.
Of course,
I don't agree with you there. I don't think he has that mentality.
Monaco.
2 years ago, or last year, whenever it was. Yeah,
Monaco.
He has made bad calls.
Yeah, you could argue. Hamilton always thought that Rosberg hit him in. I realised he could never have known that he was only going to lose a bit of his front wing
in Belgium.
Yeah, but Hamilton thought that was on purpose as well.
Yeah,
I have never thought that.
We've discussed this in the past, haven't we? And we think that we think we came to a mild conclusion that Nico doesn't push as well as Lewis pushes. Lewis can push out cars wide. Nico can't.
I think Nico can, except for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how to treat his teammate right.
Yeah. He's either too gentle or he's too harsh.
Yeah.
And
you've got to be gentle before you're firm.
Well, the thing is, look at the wet races that have happened so far this year. Monaco was a wet race to start with, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was another race where it was wet, and Nico struggled horrifically.
Yeah, Monaco especially. It was like they were in different cars.
Yeah, Nico finished 7th. He was pipped by Hülkenberg on the line.
Yeah.
And even though that was, it was quite dry by the time the race finished. So in inclement weather, Nico's not so good.
With some pressure on top of it as well.
The next 2 races, Mexico this weekend is forecast for rain.
Is it?
Brazil often rains in Brazil at Interlagos.
Abu Dhabi's not going to rain.
Abu Dhabi's not going to rain.
I think we'll see a dry race there. I'm gonna stick my neck out.
I reckon beyond dry, more arid.
Do you know what? I think it was last year's Abu Dhabi. Might have been the year before. They had a massive thunderstorm 2 days before the race or before the weekend. I think it was like the Wednesday before the weekend. They had a huge thunderstorm and it rained for the first time in 11 months.
And the circuit owner paid it off and it went away.
No, they did have a huge. I think it was the first rain they had in Abu Dhabi in 11 months, and it happened the Wednesday before the weekend.
I like the idea
of the GP.
Of just this guy stood in the middle of the circuit on his own, watching the clouds coming towards him, just getting his wallet out, going, "Come on, then, how much?"
Nice racetrack you've got there, mate.
Be
if some water fell on it.
Yeah.
Stop!
Imagine that though, a wet night race in Abu Dhabi for the last race of the season.
That would be awesome.
That would be
Bernie Spring.
Formula Lee, make it happen.
Yes.
Oh God, no.
Abu Dhabi might have actually an interesting race if that's the case.
I don't mind the Abu Dhabi circuit, but it doesn't produce interesting races normally, does it?
Nah.
It did when Vettel won the championship that year, 2010, I think it was.
Is that when Alonso got fucking Vettel lead?
Yeah, Vitaly Petrov, yeah. And it did produce an interesting race when, again, with Vettel having to fight back from way down the field up to third.
Last he ended up, didn't he?
Was he last? He started from the pit lane.
Oh, I was thinking of when he span round.
That was in Brazil, I think.
Was that Brazil?
Yeah,
that was
Brazil.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it was in Brazil, and Vettel fighting back from way back and pretty much forcing Jenson Button off the circuit. I'm sure you'll remember that one. That was a pretty feisty move, which he didn't get a penalty for.
That's he's still wearing. That's one of his black armbands that he's wearing.
Yeah. And if I remember rightly, Lewis Hamilton was leading that race at one point, and his McLaren blew up on him. But so
Because the cars always blow up on him.
they do.
That was Toto's fault as well.
Probably. But yeah, it was the amount of permutations we've got to go in the rest of the season is unbelievable.
Yeah, this 3 races left in this season is not done, which personally I think is great.
Yeah, I do. Sebastian Vettel said in the press conference that there are lots of laps to go in 3 races. You only have to get one of those laps wrong for it all to go away from you.
Yeah.
And
He's waiting for Ferrari to get one of them right.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. No, he's waiting for everyone else to get it wrong, and the one day that Sebastian gets it right, double fingers crossed.
Multi 27.
Yeah, multi 57.
Dan, I believe you have a rant about driver of the day.
Oh, God, yes.
The official
I think
FIA.
we all do. We all do. Yes.
Yeah.
So, the winner of this week's Driver of the Day,
Official FIA driver of the day.
official FIA Driver of the Day, as voted for by the voting public, 25% of the votes, I believe, came in from the Netherlands. And in a shock, the guy who didn't know when to come in for a pit stop and screwed up his teammate's race
Screwed up
Well,
the whole race.
won the best Driver of the Day.
What percentage did he actually get in total? Was it 25%?
I do not know that.
I just
afraid.
want to know how many Formula One fans are fucking morons.
All the ones from the Netherlands, by the looks of it, who voted for Max Verstappen for driver of the day, because he very clearly wasn't driver of the day.
I've got no problem with a driver who didn't finish getting Driver of the Day.
As long as they've put in a good effort.
Yeah, raced hard, done something impressive.
Now, the retirement might not have been Max's fault.
Alonso
No, it wasn't.
deserved a Driver of the Day, I reckon.
I would put forward Carlos Sainz for that finishing position in a car that's running an engine that's supposed to be almost a second slower per lap on such a long lap as Austin, to get that car 6th.
This might be a shorter list. Who else deserves Driver of the Day less?
The Max Verstappen.
Yeah, that's a much shorter list.
Who did? Yeah, all right, okay, let's do it that. This is an easier way to do it, rather than who deserves it more. Who deserves it less? Esteban Ocon for getting lapped twice.
Yeah, but he's in a slow car.
Valtteri Bottas for not really pushing after his puncture.
Well, that might have been a
You might have
mechanical
had a
issue.
broke car.
Right, I'm done.
So there are.
Oh,
Don't get me wrong.
I've got it. Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah,
He only did one lap at half speed.
Yeah. There are races where Verstappen has definitely deserved it.
Yeah.
This was not one of them.
No.
Yeah.
If you voted Verstappen for driver of the day, you are an idiot.
So
Well done.
at the moment, it's a farce.
To be honest, I mean, he could have got the votes for driver of the day early on in the race.
But
What had he done at that
Yeah.
point?
Yeah, not a great deal.
This happened as well earlier on in the season. Rio Haryanto got driver of the day, didn't he? But it was scrubbed off because of the amount of votes that came in from Indonesia.
Yeah, I think he got it in Australia, didn't he?
Yeah, but it was scrubbed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Why can't this get scrubbed off?
Yeah.
Because democracy doesn't work.
Obviously.
There's your hat trick.
We need a dictatorship.
We've got one.
No,
We're swapping Bernie for another dictator now.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they really need to. They need to do something about it because it's just.
If it's going to be someone who's shown good skills in the race, getting driver of the day, fantastic. If it's just going to be the Max Verstappen award for turning up, then it's a farce and should be stopped.
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz was better than Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the grid was better
I
than
was
Max
just going to say,
Verstappen.
most
Yeah.
Renault drivers did a better job than Max Verstappen.
Yeah, they raced fairly and didn't break their cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knew when to come in the pits.
Yeah.
Didn't wreck the teammates' races.
I was just going to say, I can't think of anybody else that destroyed their teammates' race.
Nope.
Kimi Raikkonen deserved driver of the day more than Max Verstappen.
Call it a reversing move.
And he went backwards at one point, literally backwards.
You went backwards better than anyone else goes backwards.
I think that leads us nicely on to this week's silly season update then.
Oh dear.
It's got to happen. So, Hulk will be driving a Renault next year, alongside not Bottas.
Our driver.
or Jolyon Palmer.
Not Bottas, not Kvyat.
Yeah,
Not Sainz.
not Sainz.
Not Button.
Not Perez.
Not Lance Stroll.
Not Lance Stroll.
Not
Probably not
did you
Pierre
say Ocon?
Gasly, though he is looking at
no,
other
he didn't.
options.
Yes, I did notice that.
Esteban Ocon's still in the running, isn't he, for a Renault seat?
Yes, he is.
He seems to be getting not mentioned a lot though.
Perhaps he's been not mentioned because work is being done to put him in the seat.
Maybe I don't. I think I was wrong, and I think although Renault have got like an interest in him, I think he's more Mercedes badged than Renault badged.
Well, if Hulk is leaving for Renault, and indeed we know that he is, that leaves a hole at Force India as well.
It's going to be the guy with the biggest check. It's going to be either Nasser or Palmer.
Nasser, Palmer, Wehrlein, or
Yes.
maybe Ocon as an
Sky-
outside bet.
Sky are talking up Nasser.
Yeah,
BBC,
I don't think it'll be
BBC are
Wehrlein.
talking up Palmer. But as we've come to see, the BBC knows sod all about Formula One these days.
They do have the best guy. Still,
Which guy?
Brent Benson.
Andrew Benson.
Andrew
yeah,
Benson.
Oh, yeah,
he's-
yeah.
He's the best
Yeah,
Formula One reporter, I think, in the world.
He's the last one at BBC that actually gives a toss.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who's going to turn the lights off when he closes the door.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
And the others will still be blundering around.
Yeah, like a Ferrari pit crew.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Yeah.
Who would we like to see in the second Renault and the other Force India then?
Pastor Maldonado.
Does
Yukio
this have to be
Katsuno.
realistic?
Well, yeah. Who would we like to see driving it next season?
Can I drive one of the cars next season?
Thing is, if you put a driver from another team like Felipe Nasser in the Force India, that leaves a hole at Sauber for somebody to fill.
So that needs to be somebody with a large amount of money and no self-respect.
Because then that means that there's no
Enter Jolyon Palmer.
I set them up, you knock them down.
I would like to see Nasser in the Force India against Perez, because that'll tell us
If he's
just
any
how
good.
good Nasser and Ericsson.
No, it won't.
Oh.
It'll tell us who's got the most money depending on which sponsors on the car. If Force India is suddenly blue and yellow next year,
Yeah, but he's going to be up against Perez, who's pretty much a known quantity in that car.
yeah, and the team. He's been there for
Yeah.
a few years now.
Yeah.
So if Nasser is any good, he'll be within a gnat's crotchet of
Yeah,
Perez. If he's not, then he'll
he
be.
won't be.
And that's crotchet.
Mm.
Yes, I may occasionally listen to. I'm sorry, I haven't a clue.
It sounds like a mechanic's tool. Can you pass me that Nats crotchet, please, mate?
Yeah.
It's kept with the left-handed screwdrivers.
Yeah, you've got one in your in the back of your van. It's next to your tartan paint.
Yes.
You can't buy tartan paint, you know.
Apparently so.
I've seen it. Mm.
That's killed that one.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see Nasser in a real team, just to see if he is actually any good.
I'd like to see Nasser in Formula E.
Well, we know he's slow enough in the current car.
Yeah. Thing is, if Nasser goes to Force India, that leaves Sauber with a huge financial hole as well as a seat for a driver. Sergei Sorokin, who used to test quite a lot for Sauber, has been testing for Renault this year. Maybe they might want to offer him a seat.
I mean, his name hasn't
No.
come up
But the
for
thing
the Renault
is-
seat.
Yeah, but no, it hasn't at all. No, but the thing is, what would the Sauber look like next year if there's no Felipe Nasser there? Because it is basically Felipe Nasser. His money is on the car, and then there's a Sauber logo at the back. So
Well,
it's actually,
his money's the colour scheme, and Ericsson's money is all the names on it apart from Banco de Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget, there's talks of Sauber getting rebranded next year and everything, isn't there?
yeah, Longbow Formula One team
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Wouldn't like that.
No, I prefer them to keep the name Sauber just for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the year that Midland done Jordan, that really didn't do a great deal for Jordan's heritage.
No.
No.
Do you think Pierre Gasly will walk out of the Red Bull organisation and try to get into one of the other teams. Cause
I don't think he's got a choice.
A smart Pierre Gasly would do this, and I'll tell you why. Because Carlos Sainz is already considering whether or not he is essentially there for a just-in-case man. What if Ricciardo and Verstappen don't go anywhere for a long time?
Yeah. But
Gasly is just going to be waiting for something. And now would be a good time for Gasly, if he can get another Formula 1 seat, to go to it.
Does this mean that the Red Bull organisation have kind of cocked up?
Yeah, by pushing
Toro Rosso.
by pushing too much young blood through too quickly.
But I'd
Way
also
too
like
much.
to say that if there's one thing they seem to be able to do, because they're a big team, which essentially for the last few years has basically just made world champions. Or I know you had one guy winning a lot of world champions, but they if Vettel hadn't been in that car, they would have made Webber 4 times world champion. If what they seem to be good at, which I think was proven with Carlos Sainz, is they know their way around a fucking contract. And I don't think Pierre Gasly has the choice if he wants to. If he's part of that, if he's part of that Red Bull organisation, they appear to be part of that Red Bull organisation, not only when they get into Formula One, but for the next 2 years afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would imagine he doesn't even have the choice to go to Renault if he wanted to, or if they even want him. I mean, let's face it, he's not setting the world alight.
No, I mean Gasly. Of all the GP2 drivers you could bring in, maybe one of Mano's drivers will go to a Force India or a Sauber or whatever hole gets left elsewhere in another team.
I can't see either of the Manor drivers going to Sauber just because of
because
it being a
Manor
Ferrari engine.
Manor will be ahead of Sauber.
Yeah, Force India will be more likely.
Wehrlein is a possibility, I think, for Force India. I don't think he's a just because of the Mercedes link.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a nailed on definite candidate, but I think he's a possibility for the team. I don't know who else you would look at other than their young driver who did the testing for them earlier this year, Alfonso Celis. He was very impressive in that Force India, and against some established drivers. I know it was only testing, but he held his own. I think he was actually fastest on one of the days.
He was doing the same lap times as the other Force India drivers, wasn't he?
He was.
But let's face it, I mean, that can be fuel as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what's his name? The British guy?
Alex Lynn.
John King, Alex Lynn.
Alex Lynn was putting times in the same as the Williams drivers, and he just seems to have completely disappeared from a Formula One driver, which I think is a real shame.
It is. And if I was about to say then, mentioning Jordan King, if a Manor driver does go to one of those seats, I'd expect to see Jordan King put in the Manor for next year.
Does it feel like it's obviously always been a problem for new drivers to get into Formula One. There's a finite amount of seats, there's an awful lot of drivers that want to be there, and out of all those drivers and finite amount of seats, there's only very few drivers that are actually good enough to get into Formula One, especially on merit.
Of course,
yeah.
But does it not feel like a new situation now that Red Bull have seemed to have started, where it was always drivers that were essentially almost like paving their own way to try and get into Formula One, and that would essentially get brought by a team, brought in by a team, like a Jenson Button or an Jacques Villeneuve, for instance, coming from across the pond, just something like that. Whereas driver programs and young driver programs within Formula One seems to be such a that's the feeder series now, essentially.
It does feel that way, and I don't know if that's just because we know more about it now.
Maybe it just seems that like an awful lot of teams have an awful lot of drivers and not an awful lot of seats.
And what we're talking about is, well, this guy who's in GP2 or Formula 3 at the moment
is owned by Mercedes.
Is owned by Mercedes. Will be going to a team that's got Mercedes engines.
Yeah.
Not this guy's looking really good.
It's not
I wonder
healthy,
if any of the teams will pick him up.
Yeah, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for the sport. And then you've got the thing of where there could be a guy out there like an Alex Lynn that gets wrapped up in it. Like he was part of the Red Bull Young Driver program, but
he left of his own accord.
He was there with a swarm of drivers, and he was probably quite right to leave of his own accord, because he'd have known there was Sainz, Kvyat,
Ricardo
at the time, yeah.
He probably knew that there was a Verstappen that had joined Young at that point as well. Sorry.
I think that's what not forced Alex Lynn, but made his decision up for him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The fact that they put Verstappen in the car ahead of all the other Toro Rosso drivers who were waiting, and I think he left the Red Bull Young Driver program and went to Williams. But there was also Antonio Felix da Costa. He's disappeared off the radar completely. He was touted as a future Formula One Red Bull driver, and nope, just completely vanished. I believe in giving young drivers the opportunity in Formula One, but
I believe young drivers are the future.
Well, of course they are. That was a silly thing to say. but when you've got, like you say, when you've got teams with so many drivers, like Sauber signed 4 drivers for last season or whenever it was.
Yeah.
And for only 2 seats, you're only going to make things more difficult for yourself, and then you're only going to make it more difficult for the fans to watch. Do you know what I mean? Like Manor switching drivers halfway through a season just because Rio Haryanto's sponsors wouldn't pay up the rest of the money.
But I'm not sure that it is completely unhealthy for the sport, though, because what you've got with the young driver programs is basically sponsorship being arranged from when they're very young.
Mm-hmm.
So without those programs, you'd have to have drivers arranging their own sponsorship all through Formula, the junior formulas, Formula 3, GP3, GP2, before getting picked up by a Formula 1 team. This way they've got the pipeline, so possibly we've talked about how difficult it could be for anyone without pots of money behind them to get into the sport. Possibly this is a thing that helps that.
I don't know. I mean,
it's a good thing if it prevents another Ukio Katayama.
Ukio Katayama, though, scored points in Formula 1.
Yeah.
That was back in the days when engines would blow up and anyone could score points in Formula 1.
No, because points, I'd say anyone could score points then because the grid was closer.
Yeah.
It was still terrible.
But he was better than...
Ricardo Rossi.
Yes.
If it prevents another situation like
Nakano.
it. Yeah.
I think he was better than Ericsson.
Bertrand Gachot.
Yeah, but he was a comedy driver.
Yes.
Who didn't like taxi drivers.
Responsible for Michael Schumacher.
Yes.
The other thing is, because this is the other thing to talk about Sainz too. I still think one of the reasons that Red Bull won't let Sainz go, even though they've got no intention of him sticking him in Red Bull, even without the contract quibbles, because of who they're going to put into the Red Bull if one of the guys leaves, because I don't think either of them are going to go anywhere, because I think it's going to be a quick car next year. Why would they allow Carlos Sainz, who's a very good driver and comparable to Max Verstappen, the new wonder kid, why would they allow him to go to Renault, where if Renault put a good car together, he will be bothering them? I think that's the part that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's because you will get a situation where you have a very talented driver, and they go, well, we could put him in a different team, but then he might take points off us.
That's it.
There is one reason why, as Red Bull, I would keep Sainz around, and that's because Verstappen seems to have a far better contract negotiating team than Red Bull do.
He seems to have a far better contract negotiating team than Sainz does.
I think Sainz's contract was agreed on the fact that they were going to throw a load of money. Red Bull were going to throw a load of money at his dad's Dakar Series entries as well.
we will sponsor you for the price of your firstborn child.
But silly season's going to rumble on and on, way until all teams are all confirmed for next year, and possibly even after
possibly
that.
past that. Yes.
Yeah. Are we going to get another situation where we'll find out who the drivers are for all teams just before the first test?
Possibly.
I
wouldn't
think that I wouldn't rule that out.
I think that might be the case. Definitely be the case with Manor.
Rio Haryanto could find himself back in the frame.
He has been saying it. Well, he was saying there was going to be announcements in Malaysia, but
there wasn't.
There weren't any announcements about him anyway.
No. I think the Haryanto boat has passed. I tell you what though,
his name is Rio, and he failed to take the stand.
I think was he in court? I think he's definitely Palmer's definitely got a shot of a drive now this year. Thinking about if the moves seem to be going to happen within Formula One now, don't they? So it very much might be a case of people moving one to the left.
It looks that way. You've got Gasly, you've got Sirotkin, you've got
Jordan King,
Giovinazzi potentially.
It could be.
There
there is a question actually that raises itself. What are Red Bull going to do with Pierre Gasly if he wins the GP2 title?
Because he can't race in GP2 next year, can he?
He can't defend the GP2 title.
Keep it on retention. Keep him on retention as a Red Bull ambassador for a little while.
It's not like they don't fucking mind having a load of drivers.
There's only one GP2 race left now, though, isn't there? In Abu Dhabi. That's it.
Well, it's 2 races.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, sprint race, the feature race. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Sorry, one event is what I meant.
Yeah, there's one event.
They clearly don't think he's going to win.
I think they're hoping that he doesn't win. Then at least they'll know what to do with him next year.
I don't know. I think if
WEC.
yeah, but the fact that they won't get rid of Kvyat, who they've essentially moved down, shows how little faith they have in Pierre Gasly. Because they're like you said before.
I don't think they got faith in him. I just don't think they think he's not ready yet.
No, but it's not like Red Bull are scared of putting a driver through the grinder.
No, I know, but if that, maybe they're learning from their lessons, or maybe they just think, well, hang on a second, we knew Max was ready, we knew Carlos was ready, we don't think Pierre's quite ready yet, but we know he's got potential.
Yeah. I'm on the Red Bull.
They can't have too many more in the pipeline after Gasly.
They've got 4. I'm on the Red Bull Junior team site at the moment.
Yeah.
They have
and people get born every day.
Sergio Setti Camara.
Where the fuck is he from?
Brazil.
It's just like the front half is Spanish, but the back half's Japanese.
He is a Brazilian driver, 18 years old, and he's in European Formula 3.
Cool.
Then Nico Kari from Finland, who is also in European Formula 3. I'm getting a theme here. But he's only 16, just turned 17. He's out of it for a bit.
They stuck Verstappen in European Formula 3 as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
That must be their preferred driver store.
Louis Leeds from Melbourne in Australia, not Leeds.
Like him.
He is racing for Arden, Christian Horner's team, in British Formula 4. And Richard Venshaw, who is 15 from Holland, who is in a different Formula 4 team.
Is that Arden, Horner's and Webber's team?
Arden's always been Horner's team. I didn't know Webber was a part of it.
I know they're 50-50 on a Formula 3 team, you see.
It must be that because that's where Horner got his. Well, Horner built the Arden team.
Makes sense why he'd be Australian as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitch Evans, did he not come through that as well?
Not sure.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's ex-Arden. So yeah, Red Bull have got 4 drivers behind Gasly. Only one of them's old enough to drive an F1 car at the moment.
But for 2017, without looking too far into the future, for 2017, it looks like all moves within the sport are going to be sideways moves, and potential 1 or 2 new faces coming in alongside Lance Stroll, who is all but confirmed by Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, something tells me he might be the only new name that we see on the grid.
Yeah.
See, I suppose that's the thing. I mean,
because obviously there's 2 drivers on the grid that won't be taking part next year, but I think we'll see someone coming back.
Mm-hmm.
See, you could even find if Julian Palmer stays at Renault, You could even see Magnussen going to Force India.
Possibly.
Yeah.
You know, it's that Force India, in my eyes, is the best seat to have at the minute. Maybe not long term, but certainly for 2018, it's the best free seat.
Well, it's going to be a roll of the dice to see what they can do next year
At Renault or
at Force India.
I think they'll still be better than Renault. They'll definitely be better than Sauber. That was my only thing.
Oh yeah, of course they
All
will.
this, of course, is taking it as read that Haas are just going to retain both drivers.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Which
See,
we don't know.
Which hasn't been confirmed.
No, it hasn't.
Oh.
I don't think they'll keep Gutierrez. I think it's a has-been.
Oh dear.
Let's draw a line under that. Formula Lee.
Let's do Formula Lee. Formula Lee?
Do you only start talking about it after a fanfare or something?
I'm waiting for my theme tune.
Oh, we
Formula
Lee. There you go.
I was hoping there'd be some sort of Austin Glass smash, but here we are.
Go on then.
Well,
what were we doing? What were we doing the last 2 weeks?
I don't want to. I was rubbish this week.
Yeah, this is why we want to.
All right, I'll
Fuck
take
off!
over.
I was still better than you.
I'll take over Formula Lee then.
Only after 6 o'clock tonight.
What?
Took you till 6 o'clock tonight to beat me.
I only had 2 goes.
We were at Austin at the Circuit of the Americas, unsurprisingly.
Yes.
In the dry
Yes.
morning.
Yes.
In the Red Bull.
Yes.
And we have had a number of entries, I believe 23 in total. Yeah,
23 with 2 DNSs.
Well, we don't mention the DNSs.
No, Barnaby or Charlie, we don't mention your disqualified times.
Yes, Barnaby. After last week's shenanigans, I expected better.
And we were talking in and amongst ourselves on our little Facebook chat group that we had, saying times are looking pretty good. We expect sort of like a certain time to be good enough to be inside the top 10. And at one point, it looked like all 4 of us sat around the table might comfortably be inside the top 10. However,
That didn't happen.
that didn't happen, and only one of us is inside the top 10, and it is not Lee.
No.
Can we just say where Lee finished?
Lee has been Gutierrez'd. Completely Gutierrez, and Lee is actually in 11th place.
Why is Paul so happy?
Paul is so happy because he was fast and then was not
Then
fast.
wasn't fast anymore.
Well,
To
be
be
fair,
fast, you must be fast to finish.
faster than Eddie Irvine? Hang on, no, I don't
No.
know. Paul, to be fair, Paul put in a very good time, which I struggled to beat for a while.
Yeah, it took me a lap or so.
And as I say, it did look like...
yeah, because if your first lap took you the best part of 10 days.
I didn't.
It did look like all 4 of us were going to be inside the top 10, but in fact, it's actually only me that managed top 10 round the table at the time. Not far inside the top 10, I must say.
Lee, Chris is faster than you. Confirm that you understand that message.
Je ne comprends pas.
Although I do get a feeling we might see Lee's revenge for the rules for next week. In 10th place, then we'll read out the top 10 with times. We'll put a full list up again, Paul. We'll be on the Facebook page.
They'll be on the website, and I'll put a link on the Facebook page by the time you listen to this.
Also with an updated championship standings.
With the championship.
Excellent. So in 10th place we have a regular contributor, Adam Garcia, with a 138.391. So that's 10th place. 138.3. That's mental. And then in 9th place, yours truly, my good self, with a 138.214.
Git.
And then that is the last of the 138s. Everything above this is 137 or under. Then we got Lee Webster in 8th place with a 137.897.
Beaten by a bass player, Lee.
And then
At least it wasn't a musician.
And then in 7th place, Darren Entwistle with a 137.847. A late entry from Darren. That came in today, I think.
It did, yes.
I'm surprised he could get a time, and anyway was knuckles dragging on the floor.
I think Lee might be a bit upset at this edition.
Oh,
So graceful in defeat.
It's
isn't
all
he?
right. It's all right. There's something else to come that he doesn't know about yet.
No, you don't know about my announcement.
In
I've got
sixth,
an announcement about next year's rule shake-ups. Carry on.
oh dear.
God.
In sixth place, it's Dave Flynn, the Flying Flynn, with a 137.630.
Who apologised for his slow time, and that was the only one he was sending in because he just bought a copy of Battlefield 1.
Which
I
is
tell
fine.
you what, that motherfucker can throw a setup together. Though I was lost until I stole his
I
setup.
must admit as well, I copied Dave's setup and then just changed a little bit to do with the brakes. So
But is he really Flynnish?
Don't know. Oh, but definitely anyone that's playing the game, definitely add me at Leadrun 100 on PlayStation Network because it's really cool on the top of the friends list.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot easier.
I'm Capt Flom 21. You'll see.
Tell you what,
me
I'll
on
put all
other
our
people's.
names on the Facebook page so you can add.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me. If you want to add us as friends and laugh at us when you're beating us, because apparently we're not very good at this. Right. Okay. Then we get into the top 5. We've got I'm just ignore that. Top 5. Conor McIlroy with a 137.446. So
And I'd like to thank Conor for sending me the picture of him on stage playing bass that he did this week.
Oh right, so another bassist. This one in the top 5, and then we've got the top 4 were really late entries, all 4 of them. We've got in 4th place Chris Rowden with a 137.243. Now that's nearly a second quicker than me, and I was just like, no, that's not possible. But apparently it is.
Can we just say it's everyone that scored points so far is obviously pretty thankful that this is Chris's first entry.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, there you go. 137.243 for Chris Rowden. In 3rd place, podium position for Josh Stewart, 137.204. So only a couple of hundredths quicker than Chris Rowden. And then Patrick Daly takes 2nd place with a 137.013, which can only mean one thing.
Fast.
The fast Derek is very fast.
Yeah.
Derek Schleicher again, 1st place with
Sounds
a
like
1.
a racing driver, doesn't he?
Does 136.366. That
Nice.
is a crazy time. That's just
Fuck my ass.
Let me just find the message that Derek sent us earlier.
That's 1.9 seconds faster than me in 9th place. Sorry,
Yeah. Derek is faster than us.
Derek is faster than everyone. Can everyone confirm they understand? Derek is faster than us.
Yeah, the message Derek sent. He sent in a time earlier of 1:36.816.
Which still would have been fast enough for first.
Yeah, and then sent a message just before the cut-off time saying, working on passing Lewis's pole time, he must have been absolutely cooking around this circuit to do a 1:35.998. And then he goes and throws in a time that was only 4/10 off Lewis's actual pole time.
Crazy.
That is actual crazy.
That is a motherfucking effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know it's only a computer game, but good lord.
So what does that do to the standings? Derek, then everybody else.
It puts me on the points board because that's my first points finish.
Yeah.
Did you say it's Chris Rowden's first entry?
Chris Rowden's first one. Just a quick rundown of the points. Derek on 100 points after 4 wins on the trot.
Good lord.
Dave Flynn in 2nd with 56. Josh Stewart 3rd 43. Adam Garcia in 4th on 33 points. Conor McIlroy, bass player, 5th with 28. Then Lee with 25.
Hiya.
Also on 25, Pete Bull. Then 18 points, we've got Patrick Daly. 14 for Lee Webster. 12 for Chris Rowden and Darren Entwistle and Adam Neal. Dan, you're next on 8.
I've got points.
You've got points.
Hey!
You did get points.
Dan's got points.
Then Michael Cohen on 7. James Holman on 4. Congratulations on recently getting married again, James. By the
How many
way.
points
Yeah.
have you got?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm joint 20th.
With
Less points than the person in 19th.
Oh,
Slightly less than 1.
Yeah.
You put in the same
Okay.
lap time as Schumacher did
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
Ralph.
No.
Yeah.
Nick.
Michael.
Ah.
What we got? Barnaby Lee and Ivan van der Strauss,
Stroyce, I think it is.
Strauss
Yeah.
on 2, along with you,
Ivan
Chris.
van der Stroyce, yes.
And Adam
That sounds
Simpson
amazing.
is last of the point scorers in 19th place.
Excellent. So, Formula Lee, it's a short Formula Lee this week because it's only 1 week because we've got back-to-back US and Mexico races.
Yeah.
So are we at this Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the plan for Formula Lee this week?
We are in Mexico.
Correct.
Yeah.
In a manor.
Oh, in a manor.
Mm-hmm. At night time.
So
Evening.
Sunset.
Sunset.
Oh, okay.
Oh God.
In the wet.
Oh,
I hate you.
Lee's revenge. Good
No.
Lord.
I'm going to tweak the rules as well after the season.
After this season.
After this season's finished.
Because forgive me if I'm wrong, but when we get past Abu Dhabi and if the actual Formula 1 season is finished,
Yeah.
are we going to do some form of Formula Lee in the closed season until
Well, it's
it starts
pre-season
up
testing.
again? Pre-season testing, I like it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we'll start with the new rules in pre-season testing.
So that's wider cars, bigger tyres.
Wider cars, bigger tyres, more things to mess around with. Because I was looking at the other day, and it tells you on the side of the screen what assists you're using.
Oh no.
Oh no, he's going to tell us what assists we can use.
Oh no.
Yeah. So.
Hey, hang on a second. This used to be about letting the little guys play with the big boys, and now you're messing with it because you can Gutierrez for a week.
No. I just think it would be more interesting. I won't be yes, I might be. So yeah, from next year, I will tell you what traction control you can have, and what gearing you can have, and I think it'll have to be. I'll have to check the way the dials work, but I think it'll have to be an on or off. So I think you can do I think you have a half traction control thing. So we might be able to have full or half and off for traction control. Gears will, because you can have manual, automatic or selected shift, don't you? Right?
Yeah, suggested
semi.
manual. Yeah.
Gears will be on or off essentially, rather than that. So. That is the rule shake-ups. I have spoken, and so it is so.
Oh God.
Good Lord.
So we've got the Real Mexican Grand Prix this weekend.
We have.
Almighty.
And I'm just having a look now. If you want to do a bit more talking about Mexico, Paul, I'm going to see.
It's a country in Central America.
It is, and their flag is very similar to the Italian flag in that it's green, white, and red. Although the Mexican flag has a
It's got a football in it.
No, it's got something in the centre which I think is some animal eating another animal. I'm not quite sure what it is.
Sounds sexy.
It isn't. Unless you're Zach Brannigan.
Yeah, it's the second Mexican Grand Prix at the current layout of the circuit,
which we weren't sure about last year. But it's
the
actually
atmosphere
awesome.
looks great.
The atmosphere was great.
I think the race was a bit dull last year, wasn't it?
I think the circuit's a bit dull, to be perfectly honest.
A little bit. I mean, the biggest, most atmospheric part of the circuit isn't actually anywhere near the pits or the start-finish straight, because it's where it cuts
It's the
through
baseball field.
what used to be the baseball stadium, where no matter what part of the track that the cameras were covering, you could always tell when Perez was in the baseball section, because that's what got the loudest cheers.
Yeah.
Although they do have the podium in that section.
All right.
No, the podium's good.
Yeah, because the podium is in the section with the most fans, but it's kind of at the back of the pits.
The podium felt very NASCAR-y. You know, it felt like a very American motorsport podium.
Yeah, there was fireworks and paint bombs and lots of confetti going off. It all got.
It was cool, apart from the fact that
It all got a bit baseball. Don't forget, this is the podium that Jensen and Fernando got into trouble for standing on.
No, that was Brazil, wasn't
Was that
it?
Brazil?
Yeah, I think so. When Fernando did his little
Places where Fernando would rather be.
places Fernando would rather be. I'm just having a look at the weather forecast now, which is why I was padding a little bit before. Sunday, October 30th, currently at the circuit in Mexico City, a 70% chance of rain.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Only issue with that is weather forecasts are only reliable for up to 48 hours beforehand.
Yes.
Anything after that is mere guesswork.
It is.
And of course, we had local hats on the podium last year.
Yeah,
They all got sombreros. Are we going to see those again this year?
I hope so. We didn't see Stetsons, did we? In Texas this time round.
There
was some there.
I was told
but I mean not on the podium.
I was told that weather fact by a meteorologist.
A meteorologist. Yeah. Very good. I can quite. Meteorology is one of the things I quite enjoy, actually. Weirdly.
Just like the study of parking meters.
Yeah. Yeah. Must
gas meters and electric meters as well, yeah. Of course, last year we had a double retirement for Ferrari and Vettel doing his How to Win Friends and Influence People act by saying that Ferrari had done a shit job.
Yeah. And also...
did he know what was to come?
Exactly. And
we'll show you a shit job.
You like a shit job, do you say? What's this?
Right, this is how much Ferrari have gone to pieces in the last year. Speaking about the collision between Raikkonen and Bottas,
That's crunch.
crotchet. I'll turn your mic off. Speaking about the collision between Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas, Ferrari team principal Maurizio Arriva-Bene said, "It's an accident. It's part of the show. I don't want to blame anybody." He's changed.
Yeah.
I'm sure this year if Kimi and Valtteri collide with each other, it'll be Vettel's fault.
Yeah.
Probably. You told us you were good. 4 world championships, you said. 4!
World Championship what? Fucking tiddlywinks.
Yeah, here's one that we missed last year. The Mexican race actually won the FIA award for Best Promoter.
Fair enough.
Did they?
Mm.
I can't believe there's an award for that.
I think there's probably an award for Best Award.
Yeah.
I like that.
Awards.
The awardees.
I quite like what they did with the Mexican circuit. I mean, I don't really remember when they raced on it in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
It's a boring track though. It's not. It doesn't promote good racing.
Well,
That complex section, Luke's Gray, is fucking useless.
Last year, every race that we thought should be interesting was incredibly dull. Your Japans, your Spas.
Yeah.
And all the ones that we thought should be dull, like Sochi, were absolutely brilliant last year. So I think it might all change around for this year.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe. I don't particularly like the circuit.
I'd like to watch the race there though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'd love to be in that baseball stadium. That would be wonderful. Be right at the top of the baseball stadium, seeing the cars come out full of the atmosphere.
It's ace for people there, but as a televised race, I just don't think it's a very good circuit.
Fair enough. It could be one of those races, a little bit like Korea, which sort of is on the calendar for a little while and then disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I hope not, because I quite enjoyed it last year.
It was it was quite a good race. It wasn't a classic, but we were watching. I seem to remember the podcast after the Mexican race. We were watching a previous one from Mexico that was meant to be a classic, and that was a bit meh.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's when we started the conversation about it's easy to look back with rose-tinted glasses, old racing being better than new racing, which is not always the case.
No, I don't think it is the case at all, to be honest. I think every season has had boring racing, and every season's had good racing.
You'll never have a Formula 1 season where every single race is a classic.
If you go and buy yourself the FIA official year in review, and you watch a highlighted year in review, every year was spectacular.
Yeah.
When edited properly.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, it's just that when you're watching the full hour and a half, hour and 3/4, 2 hours, it's not going to be high octane, high energy
juggling
all the time
whilst winning his fucking 12th race on the bounce.
Yeah.
So what do we reckon's going to happen then in Mexico?
I think Red Bull have got a lot of potential for this one.
I do too.
They're already sort of, but not quite, talking up the chances.
Yeah, I mean, all the way really from that first turn at the end of the really long straight. You've got a couple of turns, very short straight, and then it's all very twisty all the way up until the start-finish straight again. So good potential for a decent aerodynamic chassis to get the one over on the cars with power.
Yeah.
We all know that Mercedes cars have got the power, and Red Bull maybe McLaren. We don't know. And Toro Rosso got good aero packages, so we could see those cars in particular doing quite well.
Here's a question, just
Yeah.
while we're on it. Do we think Renault have passed Ferrari with the power unit now?
I don't know if they've passed them the power unit.
Because the cars, like the Ferrari's not. It's not a bad car. It's just not it's not the Ferrari they needed or wanted.
No.
Yeah, you can't tell if they've passed it with the power unit, but the entire package that the Red Bull team
it's
has
just a
is
much better,
obviously better than what the Ferrari team has.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, like, I wonder if, especially considering that there's like now that TAG make their engines, there's no there's
only
no
till next
complaints.
year. It's going to be Renault again next year.
Yeah, of course it is.
TAG don't make their engines; they get them from the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, for irony. It's only tags that happen to be on the engines. But yeah, I was just wondering the other day. I wonder if Renault have surpassed what Ferrari had at the beginning of the year. Because I tell you what, there's no way that Ferrari engine is, because it's at the beginning of the year we thought it was almost on par with Mercedes having started. There's no fucking way that's the case now.
I'm pretty sure they passed what they had at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Oh no, Ferrari have passed what they had at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Renault have passed what Ferrari had at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I'm sure about that. Whether they've passed what Renault have got, what Ferrari have got now,
brought there.
Don't know.
I just think it just doesn't seem that the Ferrari, even power wise, seem to be behind Mercedes now a lot more than they were. So it just makes me wonder whether the development's been scuppered on the engine in some way.
But then you've got some Mercedes powered teams who have been going backwards as well.
Oh yeah, no,
particularly those with
I have
white
no idea.
liveries.
I have no idea either way. Red Bull's the only car with Renault engines in it that's doing any good. When you look really at the other, why do you say that? Look at Renault.
The Renault are doing better.
Yeah,
than
so see that plays to what I was thinking there, because clearly they haven't really developed the aero on the car, because you can see, it's like standard Formula One car when you look at it, and there's nothing interesting on it. So for them to still be where they are, that shows the upgrades they've brought to the engine have done the job.
Yeah, I mean Ferrari were the first team to use all the tokens this year, because they spent the last ones just before Monza.
Yeah, what did they buy with the tokens? Like go-kart trips and biscuits.
Troll pencil topper or something. Yeah.
Team building day.
At Monza,
Building rafts.
I hadn't actually seen this, and I don't know if what Renault have done since. But by Monza, Ferrari had used all 32 tokens. Renault had used 11.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that Red Bull are getting more out of the engine and car combination than Ferrari.
This is I said it all last year when this was going on, and people were laughing at Renault and stuff like that. The amount of people and like so-called Formula One experts as well.
Not us then.
No, the proper ones that are on telly and everything. The amount of them that were going on about Renault, and you're there thinking like they're a massive car company with loads of knowledge in motorsport and loads of success in Formula One.
Yeah.
And they were just one bad year, and they were fucking written off as dead, weren't they? Fucking crazy.
It is a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Any predictions for the weekend?
Lewis Hamilton will win the race.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that as well.
Lewis will either win or crash out.
That's a pretty good prediction. He won't finish second.
No, it'll either be on the top step or not classified.
I've got a funny feeling that this is the weekend where it swings, and I don't know what's going to happen to Rosberg. I'm not saying he's going to have a DNF, but I think we will end
a hard Hamilton-Rosberg battle. Do you think maybe?
No. I think something's going to go on. I think something has to change for Rosberg, and he was lucky this week again with Rosberg. But I think Lewis will leave Mexico knowing if he wins 2 more races he's world champion, no matter where Rosberg is. I think he'll finish off the podium.
I reckon Hamilton win.
Yeah.
Rosberg DNF because his engine gives up.
Hope so.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I say Hamilton win. Rosberg third.
Yeah. You see, there is something we are forgetting here. There's a chance that it's all fucking rigged, and this is only for drama, and Hamilton's always going to win it.
You really do watch a lot of wrestling, don't you?
Well,
it impinges on your everyday life. I'll tell you what you should do with all this wrestling. You should sit down and talk about it and put it on the internet.
I could call it Banter Club Pro Wrestling Podcast.
You probably should.
I should. Do you know what the best podcast name is now, though? There's a
Three Legs,
Four Wheels.
No. Sorry. There's an ex-pro wrestler that you might remember called Stevie Richards.
Yeah, I remember Steve
Oh,
Richards.
yeah, name rings a bell.
Well, he does a conspiracy podcast now, and the name of the podcast is "It's All the Work." And it's my favourite name of the podcast.
Dear God. I think that's about it for this week, isn't
I
it?
think so.
Yep. Keep coming to the Facebook page, facebook.com/3legs4wheels.
Yeah.
Tweet us at 3legs4wheels, and
Tweet me at a total shunt.
And of course, we've got the Patreon page if you are feeling generous and want to help us out, because like I say, we haven't broken any mic stands for a bit, so we're probably due to break some soon. Just treating these ones very carefully.
If you do happen to be one of the crossover people that have come to listen to the Pro Wrestling Podcast, you can check our Twitter out at Banter Club Pod.
Yes.
So yeah, come and like the Twitter because of it.
If only you had your own podcast to plug that on.
Hey, I plug our podcast on that every week. I do.
And I'm sure both your listeners really enjoy it.
Oh.
You've done that one to me enough times.
Yeah, no, it's my podcast is growing.
Yeah, 3 legs falls down. Had to get that in somewhere. And me and Chris will be, as always, doing the live blog for the race on 3legs4wheels.com from Sunday, from round about the start of the track parade.
Yeah, you don't need to miss a thing if you're out and about or anything. Just log on your phone, and me and Paul will be there, just tapping away, giving
If
you
you're out for a jog, check the blog.
Yes, there you go. Thank you, Lee. That will do.
So what happens at Brazil when I'm in an airport not watching the race?
If you're
Chris will keep pace.
at the Autodromo Carlos
Pache.
Pache.
Kind of all falls down there. Time to go.
Tis.
We'll see you next week.
Excellent.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Go patronise us. Go to our Patreon.
You've already done that.
Yeah, I know.
Said that.
I'm
We'll
just saying it.
yeah.
I think my words hold more weight.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.